Allahu Akbar. Sorry.
We are alive to save
Ruin
children.
my awesome intro.
All right.
I was about to say
We are
TikTok
alive
time to rock, and
save
then
the children. All right. Okay.
okay. Apparently, Young Bob and AP are having a contest to see who can most effectively ruin my intro, and they're both.
Hey, before we go live, oh yeah, we're live. Okay.
Sorry, say that again.
Hey, Young Bob,
Yeah,
how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Yourself?
Hey, everyone out there. If you're not familiar with Young Bob because he's in a different country, you should be familiar with Young Bob. We've got AP here, the Turkish Terror. We got me,
Hey, that's
Dizzle.
nice.
And we've got Young Bob. And hey, Young Bob, right before we went live, I checked out the comments from people before we start, and I forget who said it. Oh yeah. English style cool beans said. Oh, and if it's English style cool beans, that's definitely someone in the UK. Because people don't know about that you guys eat beans over there for breakfast. But anyway, English style cool beans said, Young Bob has the potential to be the Charlie Kirk replacement. And it's interesting because that's exactly what I was thinking the other day. I was trying to think, because people are like, who's going to replace Charlie? And everyone's like, we're going to continue the work. And I'm just thinking of like I was thinking you'd have to actually Frankenstein together a replacement. In other words, someone who replaces like this part of him and someone who replaces like this part of him and this part of him. Like on political stuff, there are guys who can do the political stuff like Ben Shapiro, even though he wouldn't be allowed according to Candace Owens. The religious stuff, there are basically preachers who've been doing this on campuses for years, like Frank Turek. But the guy's like 1 million years old, right? And that Cliff Connectley, he's like 1 million years old too. So you got these guys, these guys are super, super, super old. And I'm not just making fun of them. I'm too old. I'm too old at this point.
Yeah.
And one of the amazing things about Charlie was he got the young people. He got the young people excited to listen to what he was saying and so on. So sitting there thinking, it's like, okay, there are people who could do the political stuff. There are people who could do the religious stuff, but who's there that could just be like one person? And I couldn't think of anyone. And I was thinking, wait a minute, Young Bob. He's 17. He covers all this stuff. He will sit there and go toe to toe with Muslims, with atheists. He'll speak on all the political issues and stand his ground. And most amazingly, he's 17 years old. He's 17, which means you still have a lot of years.
Hey, Young Bob,
experience that you can gain. What's that?
Young Bob, do you know the song Dancing Queen?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Every ABBA song was about someone being 17.
Yeah. Okay. So on that note, it's interesting because in the UK, especially because there's only a selective few of individuals who actually knew Charlie Kirk. Actually had a relationship with him professionally. There seems to be a lot of opportunists this side of the pond. There's people who never really heard of him or really engaged in his content. Then suddenly, because his platform is almost empty, everyone's just going to kind of fill it up with as much political and kind of saturate the market with low value discussions. Now, for myself, I always think that firstly, if we were to look at the wife of Charlie Kirk, I imagine they would be incredibly disenfranchised by the fact that idiots online are saying, hey, look, I'm the 2.0 of your husband. I wouldn't appreciate that if that was my wife. So, I'm going to kind of leave that title. If people want to say that is myself, that's absolutely fine. But just imagining being the wife of someone to then hear this 17-year-old is going to replace your husband is incredibly wrong. And also, of course, I'm my own individual. I know I'm called Young Bob, but of course,
you're literally named after someone else. They
I know,
named you after someone else.
So
you got it. In other words, that's your thing. You get named after other people.
It doesn't mean I am them, though. Do I seem like?
I didn't say you were going to be him.
Right?
I didn't say you were literally going to be him.
So like, I take a lot of. It's a bunch of coincidences, right? So. Even now, I formed my own company called Crossing Corner, which is an organization. I've just relaunched it now because as soon as I launched it, I was made homeless. So it was kind of interesting trying to make material for the site. And the plan was just to do church events, do church outreach in schools. Because I'm becoming more political as well, and it has a lot of functionality to make news articles, I have relaunched it with both politics and religion in mind. And of course, I do work for his UK organization, Turning Point UK, as their youth ambassador, in which I do youth outreach. I think quite famously.
Why don't you talk about that a little bit? What do you do as youth ambassador? And matter of fact, please back up a little bit and just tell us like what the connection is, Turning Point UK with Turning Point USA. Is that like have they only so they expanded to the UK? Have they expanded other places, or just the UK or something like that? But it's definitely, it was spawned by Turning Point in the US and then took off.
It was actually spawned by Charlie, because the rest of people in Turning Point USA were solely dedicated to getting Trump elected. So Charlie saw the founder of Turning Point UK offered to franchise with Charlie. Charlie thought it was a great, interesting idea. Apparently, even the Queen backed Charlie Kirk from forming a youth grassroots organization for young people. And he kind of just allowed us to kind of grow and continue. Originally, 6 years ago, when our organization was founded, we were doing universities. I've even engaged with some university campaigns. That's kind of one of my roles. So what had happened is 6 years ago, we were given the franchise by Charlie Kirk. Charlie did a tour of UK universities. And because, of course, he has the name, he was able to get venues and events. Unfortunately, firstly, we had David Lammy, an MP, an elected official in Parliament. Before we even launched, he labelled our organisation as far right. We were censored on both Facebook, on X, so we had no mainstream outreach. Then secondly, because universities work different to the US counterpart, that being that that's public property and anyone can set up a stand. Instead, in the UK, we work on a system where it's privately owned, it's private land, and in order to get on campus, you have to be part of a student union society, and that's incredibly difficult. Whenever we do those, the application takes far too long, and whenever we try to host events of other student university societies, like Christian or conservative ones, they either the top presidents or whatnot, they completely reject it because it's too controversial, and they get Antifa beating them up and harassing them. All university officials just block it at every stage. So we were semi-successful, and what we used to do is just be very sly, find the boundaries of the universities and do the stands at the entrances where it is public property, that we were getting beaten the shit out of. And we didn't have the security like the US guys do, quite buff guys. We were just by ourselves, so we were getting beaten the crap out of us. We weren't used to it at all. And of course, because of our name, the name didn't really, it wasn't in line with the experience and also we had done as individuals. So for my role as youth ambassador, it's to do youth outreach. It's to also canvass in universities, set up chapters. The first time I was ever offered the position, it was off the cusp of going to the University of Sussex, and I debated with a professor of philosophy there, and it was just randomly on an underpass that I started speaking to him on transgenderism, and he started calling me this crazy dog fascist, this gender dogmatist, and I was like, hey, calm down, and it got viral on Twitter instantly, and it was me trying to transfer and translate Speaker's Corner debate, gentleman debating style to politics, and it went incredibly well. So off the cusp of Charlie Kirk's assassination, we're going to take the beat ups, we're going to take the threats to violence, and we're just going to continue. I've already done stands for Turning Point UK at Camden Town, where a bunch of the anarcho-communists kind of lay, and I've also done it with a bunch of other like liberal student areas. But we actually are going to professionalize ourselves and go to the student union societies. We've, of course, more of a protest organization currently. We got very popular for going against the drag time, story time hours. We actually got a lot of them blocked here in the UK because, again, American politics isn't the same in the UK. People think drag is this commodity. They think it's leisure. It's not really discounted. We don't really have this culture war like you do in the States. There is one, but it isn't towards the exact same things. So unfortunately, a lot of the fights that we could have right now, which we tried to instigate, it was just we had too fierce of an opposition, but we don't care anymore. Like there was an 18-year-old who got sent in hospital with several lost teeth because we tried to do a counter campaign of the Marxist festival here in London, and it was a professor, and nothing has happened to him.
Now let's go ahead and I have a video clip. This is of you. This is from Turning Point UK's Twitter page. But they posted this.
Because of the Labour Party and their liberal policies at college, I've been threatened to be put on Prevent. 31% of Prevent's referrals are due to far-right extremism. What they consider far-right extremism is cultural nationalism. Admiring one's culture is a form of far-right extremism. Last year, a study done by the UK government found that content such as The Thick of It could be a sign of radicalisation. A show by the BBC that mocks the right class in politics. Ironically, they want to extend the definition of far right for us to all be arrested and sent as political prisoners. In the case of, for example, Tommy Robinson. We should be allowed to talk about whatever we want, as long as it does not incite threats or violence. But they also want to facilitate Islam, which does everything to that to people like me. Young people have lost their religious identity with the bureaucrats at the Church of England. They've also lost their family with the sexual degeneracy, which is the far left. And now they're losing their politics. They're losing their ability to speak. And for patriots, I want to call all on to you to fight. For you to gain a political voice, and for you to also join a religious class. We need to go back to traditional conservatism.
Interestingly, that was the first time I ever publicly spoke. That was like
Really?
during the that was the first time I did a political speech. I was on a stage, just like an elevator platform. That's why I had my phone, and I just noticed that any public speaker out there, honestly, don't use a phone for notes. It's ridiculous. You believe psychologically that you then have to rely on things when it's in your head or your heart or whatever poetic language you want to use there. But yeah, that was the first time I spoke. First time I ever done like political speeches, and then from there I've kind of went off from it. But I stand towards, and actually I haven't really looked back on that. That's actually quite well put.
I have to say, I mean, for your first speech, it's not the worst speech that I've heard. Yeah,
Yeah, it was way better than AP's speech at that Turning Point thing.
yeah.
AP
Which was
like,
the worst speech?
AP stands up and he's like, I'm just very nervous to be here. Can I get some water? It was really terrible. Whereas you're just there spitting hot fire. It is weird that like, so I grew up, I was born in 76, but, so grew up in the, as a kid in the 80s, and then, and then finishing high school and stuff in the 90s, and then, went to prison and so on. But, in the stuff in the 80s, everyone was basically, taught to be patriotic. You were in school. You're talking 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th grade. You were sitting there singing, and I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. I know the words because they taught it to us when we were young. And now, basically everything, saying if you pledge allegiance to the flag, if you sing proud to be an American, now all that stuff is just considered far right. What was basic education in the 1980s is now far-right extremism in various places, and in the UK apparently. If you're like, hey, I love my country and I want to see it preserved and so on, and not burned to the ground and not become a Sharia-compliant hellhole, you are a far-right extremist, and they need to crack down on you. And that's what they've been doing, both at Speaker's Corner and apparently elsewhere. So before we continue, I got a clip that was on your channel about you being arrested a couple days ago. But before we go into that, why don't you tell us? We've already talked about this in a previous live stream, but just for anyone who's who didn't see the last one, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about Speaker's Corner? Because now it just seems like every time you show up to have a discussion with any one of the Dawa guys, they instantly start calling the police to come and take you away.
Yeah, so this is becoming a common theme now. So harassment understood within the laws in the UK is just more than one point of contact across more than one occasion. Now, if you are a listed speaker within Speaker's Corner, i.e. you're going to engage with anyone on the topic that you're promoting at the park, of course you're going to have, with other speakers of the opposing topic, more than one point of contact across more than one occasion. They've noticed this, and apparently the police have told me they have been doing like reports every single week until a point where the police have to address it. So Paul Williams, the famous gay Muslim who made a blogging theology post that I got him to delete because I kept on embarrassing his Islamic colleagues to a point where he was just peer pressured into deleting it.
17-year-old.
Yeah. I mean, he goes for that sort of a class of men anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it doesn't really matter. So point being,
To each his own. To each his own. In Islam.
So he kept on patting. The police told me this. It's like they came up to me. It's like, straight up, you're getting investigated for harassment. I was like, why? And he's like, well, he's been spending every single week reporting you for harassment and causing alarm and distress. I was like, really? Turns out I haven't spoken to him in months. And every single week, like religiously, this man's just been reporting me, even when he hasn't seen me.
This is Paul Williams?
He's so butthurt. Yeah, but Paul Williams is so butthurt.
Don't talk about Paul Williams being butthurt, man.
Yeah, no, he's so butthurt by the clientele of men that he apostated for, and also the 17-year-old who's been giving him flack for liking it. So my issue is this, Paul. You were the first Islamic speaker I ever spoke to on camera about Tawheed, about one God, right? And how and for whatever reason, you're now fixated on the one God transition to there should be two men in a marriage, and you think that's compatible with Islam. It's mental. Like, this guy was at a Dawah conference, and he started weirdly saying how he's obsessed with Speaker's Corner and how Speaker's Corner is toxic. So it just seems like he's sexually kinky, like across the board, because he considers like Speaker's Corner to be this like area of harm for himself, and for whatever reason he's obsessed with it, especially when he's publicly humiliated by both his Islamic colleagues and by me. But yeah, they keep on reporting me for harassment. It got to a point where when I was trying to go to Hashim about the Muhammad Hijab messages, they kicked me out of Speaker's Corner for no reason. The police officer who actually did that, someone sent me a message about how they got to deal with him at their door, and it was for a similar offense between a Muslim and a Christian. And it seems like he's a Muslim and he favors Muslim police officers. And whenever I've had interactions with police, it seems like whenever Muslims report two other Muslim colleagues, they seem to expedite or also increase the punishment that I could possibly receive. Again, if you want to doubt Trump's claim that Sadiq Khan and other Islamic people within the system are not trying to make the UK Sharia compliant, you only need to go against it in order to see it. However, they kicked me out of the park once, and guys, you ripping the Quran, you've got it all wrong. Laying down on prayer mats, it won't get you killed. And you know, it got them stopped praying for like 5 weeks at the front of Speaker's Corner.
Yeah. What was that about? Because you walked out, so they kicked you out of the park, and then you went on the prayer mat. What were those prayer mats there for? That they have prayer mats there?
Yeah. So the Christians, in my honest opinion, have been taking liberties at Speaker's Corner for the longest amount of time, and the kind of understanding behind that is just because they can do their form of evangelism whilst the others can do theirs. For me, that's flawed thinking, just because Islam is a parasite in whatever society it kind of fosters in. And if you kind of give them an inch, they'll take the whole mile, especially with radicalization. So I've always been a destructive element. And of course, the police haven't really responded well to that. However, at the front of Speaker's Corner, the entrance is not considered part of Hyde Park, where Speaker's Corner is. It's literally just, it's kind of an indent, an entrance to the corner, and they've got prayer on one side for women, on the other side for men. I did the Our Father prayer. I whispered the Nicene Creed, and then I just literally laid down on it, and I started telling fellow Muslims, I'm riding Aladdin's magic carpet
Very,
to Allah.
very based.
I was literally like lay down like this. And then they couldn't get me done because I was citing how this could potentially be obstructing a public highway, which is a criminal offense, and also refusing to let go because none of them could prove that they own the mats themselves. Yeah.
Very,
Yeah, that's all on video, everyone. That's all on video. You can look up young Bob praying on the Muslim prayer mats outside Speaker's Corner after they kicked you out. So just to be clear, Paul Williams is obsessed with calling the police on you.
Yeah, he's also
Okay.
obsessed with just men in general, so I think he's just got a
Okay.
problem.
No, I mean seriously, like, because it sounds like you mentioned that when you first talked. You mentioned last time that when you first talked to him, he seemed to show an interest in a young guy coming up and having a conversation with him until you started schooling him, and then his behavior changed. But like in his mind, it might be like a guy can go up and ask a girl for a date, and she says no, but then he becomes obsessed with her. You know what I mean? It could be that kind of situation. Like, ooh, look at this young guy. This might be my future boyfriend. Then he finds out, no, it's not going to work. But then he's like obsessed with you, like stalker mentality. Like some dudes have that problem. They want to ruin the person's life. It's the same idea when like in Pakistan or something like that, a woman doesn't do what a guy wants, so he throws acid in her face. It's so that she always remembers him, right? Because you can't. I'm not letting you forget about me. But that could be the kind of thing of like, hey, I'll keep messing with this dude and keep getting him in trouble and stuff like this, so he always knows that I have some level of control over him and I'm important, even though I'm this little squeaky.
So what you're saying to me, David Wood, is that when I get into prison because he keeps on using the police, when I have to take this grab for the soap, I'm remembered about Paul Williams' excellent body. Is that what you're telling me?
No, do not go to prison, dude.
It won't go well.
We'll be talking about that soon. We do want to take a couple super chats because some of them are
hang on,
comments and questions about you. What's up?
Hang on. So, young Bob, do you think that Paul Williams is romantically interested in you?
I can't say anything, man. Well, Adam, only Allah knows. But that there's some fruity action there.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Would not surprise me at all. I'm just going through a couple of these real quick, putting them on the screen. Good afternoon, you guys. Want to get down to a couple that are for Bob. Love watching you guys. Thanks for putting in the time and effort to inform us. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the UK and how things are going and how messed up things are and what just happened to young Bob. AP, is that a Garkid shirt? Very based. Yeah, I got mine too.
It is. It's actually, I was very surprised IP sent it to me.
Yeah.
So IP made these Garkid shirts.
Yeah, but
And
why did he ruin it and say doesn't snitch? That's it. That's him trying to be linguistically correct. It's Garkid. Garkid ain't no snitch.
I know, but
IP's probably like, oh well, that's a double negative, and ain't isn't technically the real word. It's more slang, and so let's get it completely correct and say garketry. It doesn't happen to be a snitch in reality,
And it doesn't have the same ring to it. You know what I mean?
powerful.
Yes, very, 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 very powerful. Hey, here we have fellow based autistic. Love you all. I have Asperger's myself. Stay safe. Muzon Avery's live after the event said he's next. Oh, I'm sure we've all gotten messages saying we're next. I've gotten multiple messages saying I'm next. It's like, hey, if you guys say we're all next, you're not making any sense because we can't all be next. So quit running
Can I
your mouth.
actually appreciate? I want to give a story to this actually. So the COO and CEO of Turning Point UK, we were all doing speeches during the vigil for Charlie Kirk, and I noticed something because I accidentally got pushed into them. I felt something like heavy on their chest. Turns out they both got Kevlar vests, and they didn't give me one. It was just 2 days after the man just got like shot, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we really need protection for ourselves." And then like the young guy that are getting out to go to university campuses, like, "No, we won't give him a Kevlar vest just in case they shoot the two old guys." But the youth guy, who of course is what kind of embodies Turning Point UK, we'll leave him alone.
Maybe they're thinking because you're young, you'll be able to like dodge better and stuff, or something like that, than like an old guy. In other words, maybe they're like, these old guys are going to be too slow.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, I have to say over there, it is a different environment in that not a lot of guns, not a lot of guns. So what would actually happen over there? Would someone like just stab someone to death or something?
Well,
If there was an assassination.
You do. So assassinations politically are rare. You've only had like 2 politicians in our history actually be like shot in the same fashion that you guys are in the States. You do get quite a lot of gun violence here in the UK. Not as much in the States, but it is very much, if you're involved in a gang, you still have a firearm. It's just not as much reported. But yeah, violently being stabbed isn't fun either. And of course,
No,
comparing
It's
the
not.
legitimacy of Turning Point USA to the UK, we're incredibly more local. So you can get very close to us compared to any of the other Turning Point USA contributors. So we're more on risk in the fact that, yeah, getting knife to the throat would be incredibly easy compared to the distance that we have with a lot of the people with us.
Yeah, it would have been very difficult to get to Charlie like that, which is why someone had to use a rifle on a roof. But compared to that, so you guys wouldn't be in as much danger from guns because guns aren't as easy to get there, but it's way easier to get to you close up with knives or anything else. Are cat humans furries? That would explain a lot when the topic of furries came up because of the shooter, and then like half of the people in the chat knew everything there was to know about furries, which was really creepy. Hi AP, I want T-shirt like yours. Hey, what's going on? Is IP going to be have those available?
I don't know. Gotta ask IP.
We'll ask IP. It seems he had these made, so he might have it available for merch at some point. When I grow up, I want to be just like young Bob. I'm 32.
Well, let's just hope you've got your religion wrong and reincarnation does exist then.
Ex-Muslim Durham history student here. Advice on Islamophilic scholars. Bit older than young Bob. Very inspiring. Keep it up, brother. Ex-Muslim, that's good. Ex-Muslim Durham history student here. Advice on Islamophilic scholars. I would say learn what's in the sources and correct them when it doesn't line up.
Yeah.
Yeah, just go to the Orientals. I look at a lot of the. Honestly, I haven't really looked into this, but to be fair, if you just go through Christian persecution of Islam, especially the Oriental Christians, you'll find a lot of those sort of scholars in your field. But yeah, it's not something I've per se looked into.
Did you guys read While Israel Slept? Good book. No, I haven't.
No.
Sounds like something AP would read like 10 times.
Following
up, Tucker's laugh matches. Then you may take me to the fair from musical Camelot. Have fun. Thanks for all you guys do. You might want to check that out, AP, because that laugh needs to be put to stuff.
Yeah.
It'll be weird when you're 80 and we're still calling you Young Bob. That would be weird.
Yeah, if I live until I'm 80, to be fair.
I hope you do. It's like the Beastie Boys, right? The Beastie Boys came out when they were young, but then they got old and they were still called the Beastie Boys. Came up with a Tucker method: tragedy experienced, unhinged laughter, cherry pick evidence, kill common sense, explain it's the Jews, remain arrogant. There you have it, AP. That's the Tucker method. T, tragedy experience. U, unhinged laughter. C, cherry pick evidence. K, kill common sense. E, explain it's the Jews. And R, remain arrogant. It's not bad. It's not bad. Might need a little tweaking, but that's good.
Not too bad. Not too bad. Not
Bob,
the
thank
worst
you.
yet.
Well done. Keep going strongly. Keep spreading the truth.
Now I'm just going to start spreading misinformation now.
Hey, you'd be even more popular because that's what people love nowadays. British food should be considered a war crime. Hey, there's plenty of.
Hey.
And it's Scottish food you need to consider a war crime, my friend. You're just not cultured enough. English food's okay.
Who doesn't love some filthy haggis?
No,
English
it's not even
food.
that. They deep fry, like battered pizza, a battered Mars bar. Like these like sick people, they just batter everything. They're crazy.
They batter their food. They batter their women. It's weird. Love you, Bob. So pleased to see you as a guest on our favorite boys show. That's what we do. Does anyone know a good book that explains the theological positions of the early church fathers? My girlfriend is a stubborn Protestant. Ah, good for her. Hey, what advice do you have, AP?
I just got into that recently myself, but I don't know. You can usually find the writings of the church fathers on New Advent, where you can find them all written out and typed out, and can read through them, which is a very, very good source. Specifically for the church fathers, I would just recommend researching it, looking it up. But one book that is that goes very early to the 1st and 2nd centuries is what is that? I think something like the
Strategy of
Apostolic Fathers
Iconography.
or something like that. I don't know. Got to look at that.
I mean, it depends really what like sort of Protestant you're into. To be fair, so for example, for my partner, a lot of her problems was because she was evangelical. A lot of her problems was like the Eucharist. So it was more like of the staunch liturgical practices of the church. So you really have to ask yourself, well, what sort of Protestant is she? Because if she's like evangelical, you're gonna have more issues with the church, like in terms of its church practices, not in terms of its dogma. So I read like homilies on Exodus by Origen, and I kind of talked sometimes even about the Eucharist itself. So it really depends on what her problem is in Protestantism.
Yeah. What her problem, especially if she's an evangelical Protestant like Charlie Kirk, how are you going to correct her?
Oh, damn, man. Hey. I mean, I've been seeing suspicions online that man could have been Catholic. He looked towards orthodoxy.
AP said, "Hey, man, he was really attracted to orthodoxy."
So, here's the thing. So I want to say this again, since it's very very popular right now. So people like to claim Charlie Kirk for themselves, and I guess there's something nice about it because they love him so much. So they want to say, "Oh, he was one of us. He was one of us. He was almost one of us," and all that. But then the fact is just that Charlie Kirk was a very loving guy who really who liked all kinds of Christians. He loved the Catholics, he loved the Orthodox, he loved the Protestants, he loved the Catholic practices, the Orthodox practices, and Protestant practices. And we just listened to his one of his best friends speak about it. He said that he generally liked the traditional aspect and the liturgical aspect of Catholicism very much, which is why he liked going to Mass and liked visiting Catholic churches, for example. And recently got more interested in the Orthodox Church. I think actually. I'm not entirely sure about this, but I think it's pretty clear that as a result of watching my interview on Pints with Aquinas, he invited an Orthodox scholar on his show to then talk about Orthodoxy and to learn about that more, which was very, very, very nice, you know. And when he invited me to have a discussion with me, he said to me that that he thinks that it is a beautiful faith. However, until the last moment, he always affirmed that he's still an evangelical, despite his love for all these other
evangelicals, one
faiths.
true church.
So
I would say though, anyone who is political, unfortunately, just because I don't think a lot of the apostolic churches have kind of cracked modernism, it's always going to be difficult if you're a politician or someone who does content creation online to become orthodox, just because, of course, to become a catechumen, then to be received into the church is so incredibly long that it kind of disenfranchises people. So they may have like this fantasy of joining the Orthodox Church, or how immutable the church is, or how so many young people are coming to Christianity through that particular denomination. But whether practically they can join, unfortunately, because we live in a tainted world, a lot of the time these things won't happen. Now, of course, when it comes to a man's death, everyone becomes superstitious of everything he does. Everything is studied. No one gives the plain reading of anything. And you even have Muslims now saying he was considering Islam. So I would take staunch criticism. I would just hold back on anything in terms of that claim of what denomination he would seek, unless to say he's a bit of an ecumenist, because he understands that a liturgical practice within the church, unlike our Protestant neighbors, kind of disciples men and disciplines them properly.
Disciplines men, not in the Paul Williams way, though. Bacon and eggs breakfast, now far right watch list. Yep, you got to be eating nothing but wheatgrass stew, wheatgrass juice, and so on. If you have bacon and eggs, you're an extremist. We know what Islamic sources say about young boys. Yeah, we do. There's an obsession. Aren't they implementing blasphemy law? We're going to talk about that. Here's one I wanted to get to. Oh, wait, hang on. No, this one first. I thought these leaders were just really stupid, but at this point it seems they are purposefully destroying their nations. Why? I don't understand. We'll be getting into that here shortly. We're going to look at some of the recent stories out of the UK. Here's what I wanted to get to. Young Bob, can you please advise everyone exactly where is the best place to donate to you to help you out, as unfortunately there has been some misunderstandings. Keep it up, mate. Without lies, Islam dies.
Yeah, so with my legal fees, just because, of course, we'll get into this later, I was arrested just 2 days ago for full 24 hours and then released on bail. Right now, to donate, generally, crossandcorner.org/donate. It was an organization that I formed that I tried to launch just before I was kicked out. Then I've just relaunched it because things have, even though surprisingly you'd think they've become more unstable, they actually have become more stable. So I'm able to do more things with that now. In fact, just on the site now, after this, I'm going to launch, upload some videos exclusively to the site on some debate stands I've done on immigration. But if you go to /donate, everything that is donated there goes directly to me, and that will help with anything going forward. And in a few days, some people have organized a website to go fund my legal fees, because they will be a lot, because I don't fancy going to a youth detention center. That's incredibly scary if you think Islam's entrenched in the prison system.
Youth detention centers can be worse than actual prisons.
Yes.
So you do not want to go there. And my dad grew up in an orphanage. That was bad enough. And the youth detention centers are, everyone who's familiar with the system knows those places are typically significantly worse. Who posted a GoFundMe for your legal costs? Where's that at? I want to include that in the...
Oh, we haven't set it up yet, just because it's been so recent.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let me know. Let me know when that. So in your, I have a link to your channel on X, and I have a link to crossandcorner.org/donate. So guys, if you want to support Young Bob, you've got that there. You should get on Patreon or something. Is there an issue with you being 17 or something?
Yeah, I did have a Patreon, but it was like I couldn't access anything because of my age. And I'll be able to fix it now, just because I now have parents' access to me, because one of my bail conditions was you have to stay at the address that you got kicked out of, which again, it serves as more of an interesting story. It's I've got until the 30th of October to hopefully sort out my life to make this more sustainable and more full time. And yeah, things will be quick. They have to be quick.
Wait, so you got kicked out, but now you have to stay at the place that you got kicked out of?
Yeah, it was weird, because I was like, okay, this is the address I'm currently staying at. I told the officers this, because I was like, where can we bail to? So firstly, interestingly, the place I got arrested to when I was doing the protests, one of the protests they were doing was that a migrant, an asylum applicant who was homeless, he made himself homeless, started breaking into schools. He got arrested, bailed, but he was homeless, so he had no address to go to. So it's absolutely within the legal system of the UK to firstly allow you to be bailed to any address or no address whatsoever. So they intentionally made it, firstly, one of my bail conditions to be here, which is very intentional, because they had access to my phone and my social medias. And secondly, to bail me to this address. And if I didn't stay here, and one of my condition states every single night, and if the officers see that I have slept somewhere else, I'll be arrested and remanded until my court day.
Isn't the UK,
the UK guys? The UK sucks. It sounds like. Nope. I did want to point this out here. Where'd it go?
Talking trash about the guy's country, man.
Here you go. What about give?
Oh no, it is right now terrible, man.
It's pretty bad.
Terrible.
Yeah, AP. Everyone knows it's bad, man.
It's a beautiful.
You think they don't know that? You think they're like, oh, we're too patriotic to say how much this place sucks right now? No,
it's a beautiful country, man.
Hey, Bob, pass this on to whoever is setting up the GoFundMe. Some people have an objection to GoFundMe because of things they've taken down in the past. They do seem somewhat biased. Give, Send, Go, much more Christian friendly. So I would recommend just setting up both. Whenever they're setting up one, set up the other, and then people have an option. If they like GoFundMe, they can use GoFundMe. If they like Give, Send, Go, they can use Give, Send, Go. But that you want to give people plenty of options on how to fund your legal fees and so on. Because, man,
Because what will happen is they'll keep on rebailing you, and they'll keep on putting conditions on you, and they'll prolong it as long as possible to make sure that your legal fees as high as possible. They already originally rejected, because I had legal representation from 2 organizations, just because I'd already been networking ever since this has happened to me, this like line of censorship, and they straight up just rejected it. They were intentionally obfuscating contacting my lawyers that I gave, and they just gave me a duty solicitor who originally told me not to comment anything I said. And if you know anything about UK law, is if you're accused of anything, no comment every single thing within your interview, because it's just there to establish what should happen to you after your interview. So should you be charged, should you not be charged, should you be on bail, and it only can be used not in your favor, to the detriment of yourself in a court appearance, whether you say things on your call that's inconsistent with your interview, and it's all used against you. So no comment everything. And duty solicitors, firstly, they barely speak any English, and secondly, they intentionally give you crap legal advice because they're supplied by the state.
Farhan here says, all of you will be Muslims one day. Inch. Yes. Farhan, as soon as we finally realize that the greatest man in history was a child molesting, murdering rapist, we'll be like, yes, we have to convert to this. After you unite the kingdom march, I have hope that the descendant of King Richard will not die easy. Wake up and fight. Yeah, we'll see.
Well, me and AP were backstage there, and we had some good fun laughing at the first thing I said to him, because we stared at the counter protest and there was a bunch of Palestinian flags. I was like, AP, the notorious supporter of Palestine, man, you should be right behind them. And unfortunately, they didn't accept them. I wonder why.
Hey, young Bob, any plans to visit Manchester?
I'm going to do a stand there, but I need to make sure. So, again, anyone who is American, the police system, especially for protests. So right now, a lot of the migrant hotel protests, the police cannot crack down the organizer of these events. So, for example, when they interviewed me, they keep on questioning me on if I was the organizer of these Epping hotel protests. So they will arrest a protester who is well known within the community. Then, if their bail conditions aren't, so they can't protest. Because, by the way, if you're released from bail, right, your bail conditions can be you cannot protest. I've had individuals on bail who can't post things on social media, who can't protest. You can't go in an organization more than 3 people outside of their family, so they can't go with their friends with more than 3 in a group. And if you go to a protest again whilst you're on bail, they'll try to arrest you for a similar sort of offence. They'll aggravate you. They'll just lie. They'll give you some ambiguous public order offence where, you antagonize this man, or you shouldn't be there throughout your duration of your protest. They'll arrest you, remand you into your court appearance, and essentially then you're in a holding cell for 3 months. So I need to be very careful, and I cannot stretch this enough. And this is a man who will lay down on prayer mats and tell Islam to go fuck itself. I need to be very careful on the type of company that I keep, and also the type of protest I go to going forward, because that will, of course, affect the outcome of my court.
Yeah, I want to say, Bob, I'm all in favor of going hard and laying down on prayer mats and ticking people off who deserve to be ticked off and stuff. But really, as someone who's been in multiple jails and multiple prisons, really, 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 really don't want you going to prison.
Powerful.
Or I mean, even worse, to some youth re-education camp, because those can be worse.
Yeah, they can be. because you have to be some disturbed individual to get arrested. Because juveniles, and this I've always had this luck. The first time I got arrested, they just instantly released me like 5 hours later. They prioritize juveniles to be released because, of course, they don't want young kids arrested. So you have to be some mentally disturbed individual to be arrested from a very young age. You either have to be in some unfortunate circumstances, or you just have to be psychotic and like have massacred your entire family. So you have that sort of crime, like the violent crime that is like you can't excuse, and then you have the sort of political crime that goes against the state, that the state tries to push against you, and they'll make sure that you're in prison for that.
And it's the same idea with Tommy, right? Like they'll say, oh, okay, here's this guy who was part of a grooming gang that drugged, pimped, raped, gang raped, and so on this young girl. We'll lock this guy up for 2 years. Oh, here's Tommy who's speaking out against that. We'll also lock him up and put them all in the same prison, and of course, and then they'll end up putting Tommy in a solitary and so on. But I mean, think about it. That's clearly, if you're the judges, the lawmakers, and so on, you understand this is not the same thing as what this guy's doing. But it's just a way of punishing the person. It's a way of silencing a person. Oh, this person thinks he can say things that we do not want him to say. Well, then we will lock this person up with the worst of the worst, and that person's going to learn really quick not to say things that we don't want him to say. So, yeah, that's a way of. It's just a way of. It's a way of stopping people from speaking against the machine there that's destroying your country. Boring Politician said, "Remember to tell young Bob that the police aren't your friends, especially if they act like they are." Yeah, I don't know what the rules are over there, but
Oh yeah,
over here you don't. Yeah, I don't even know how it works over here. Over here, over there. Over here, you have the right to remain silent. So it's generally understood. Police are going to try and get you to talk, and they're going to act like your best buddy, and they'll do things like play good cop, bad cop, and things like that. They'll pretend to be your best friends, but they're all getting information, and every information they're gonna be bringing up in court, and you're like, I thought that was my buddy, and now he's using all this stuff against me.
Well, they even do a similar thing with media now. I've had a Channel 4 guy follow me, and he's trying to stitch me up. The media do that as well. They adopt police tactics to make sure that, because one of the things that the establishment, and I use this term quite broadly, has always found it difficult to, is you have the institutions, you have the police, they can all be used against you, but the public can't. They didn't move with Tommy. I imagine they won't move with me. And they won't move with so many other people who are facing prison time. So the way that they used to try to, when the media actually had some legitimacy and the people actually watched it, was through stitch-up jobs, and they adopted the same tactic that the police did. They were your friends. They would ask for some information in a nice way, good cop, bad cop, that sort of situation. And they would clip up everything, and they've done that with other independent journalist friends that I know, and they've completely cocked them up. And they're trying to do a hit piece on me on Channel 4. So that should be interesting.
That should be interesting. These guys, your media over. I mean, we think we've got it bad over here. Yours sucks compared to ours. You're like everything we look at in the USA and go, man, this sucks. It's like, but it's always like, well, at least it's not as bad as it is over in the UK. Yeah. So everyone, if you're getting locked up, apparently you got to worry about people setting you up for various things. But if it's police, just say all you're supposed to say is lawyer. Hey, what do you want to talk about?
Lawyer and no comment. No comment, no comment, no comment. And solicitor, no comment, no comment, no comment, no comment. If you're in prison, and they even do this now. So the way I understand it is that no comments can't be used against you as long as you've no commented the entire line of questions within the interview. If you answer one and you no comment everything else, they can then put into question in court why you've selectively no commented one question whilst answered the other. You've clearly had the intention to say things and selectively be quiet on other things. So they'll say, to give you a line of questions, no comment, and then they'll say, do you want a cup of tea? And then when you give an answer of yes or no, that will be part of the interview. Then all the other questions that you've no commented can be put into question. So there's incredibly small and sly tactics like that will completely fuck you over in a court case.
Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know how things work over there, but over here, another way is to answer every question with some version of D's nuts. Like you were saying, they would ask you, "Oh, did you organize this?" And they say, "Hey, did you organize this?" You go, "I organized D's nuts," and just answer every question with that. Again, I don't know if that would work over there, but it works like a charm over here.
It's pretty childish.
Yeah, it is. All right, now let's go ahead and watch a clip of that was on your X page. This is young Bob getting arrested the other day, but let's go ahead and check this out, and then you can explain. You've already mentioned it, but you can explain a bit more to us.
On my Uber, see that? At 6.
I can confirm the Uber was almost there.
So there.
What for? Section 14, mate. You've been seen protesting. You refuse to leave the area despite multiple warnings. You will have to pay it for no harm in the you may later on in court. I was making attempts to leave. I had my Uber.
Great, the officers know how to turn off cameras.
What's that?
It's great that officers know how to turn off cameras. I've had this before when they arrested me. Like, you just have to completely edit out the fact that the officers just looking like mugs on the camera. How do I turn this off? Like,
I got arrested in Dearborn, and yeah, it was the same thing. They had trouble with cameras.
So are we all going to get arrested?
So, quick context there. I was arrested for Section 14 of the Public Order Act. I attempted to leave through booking Uber, and I was not part of an assembly or protest. I was booked in for 24 hours. Midway through the night, I was woken up, and they gave me even more bullshit charges, citing videos that I've done in the past. And my bail ends at the 30th of October. I'm not allowed in Epping, and there's a few others that I can't really go into detail now. All I'm going to say is, legally speaking, I am fucked. I don't know what to do in terms of legal representation. If it wasn't for the fact I was able to crack a laugh in the prison cell, I would have gone insane. And yeah, the footage I clearly show you is, firstly, I left. Secondly, I wasn't protesting. And thirdly, if you were being charitable, I was obviously going to leave within that 6 minutes. So I don't know why the police have such an urge to arrest me. It seems quite loaded. And for me, I don't think you should just like waffle public order charges on a 17-year-old. If you want to make an example of someone, do it. So when the Essex police do get flack, it's not even more flack because you're doing it to someone underage.
And then going back, so you actually recorded yourself. Hey, I have an Uber. It is 1 mile away. What the heck is one?
It's 6 minutes away. So the reason why I wanted to show this is okay, so I don't know if this is an amazing concept. So in the UK, you have the legal right to statically protest. That means you can have a organized assembly anywhere on public grounds at any time. You don't need any permission. Now, during the Conservative Party rule, and this is why I don't think a lot of the Conservative Party are right-wing, they decided to introduce public order offences to limit and control your right to protest. One of them is Section 14. Now, Section 14 is limiting the area, the time, and also the equipment that is used at a protest. Now, they had that road that was where the officers were. That was the area that was sectioned, only that pavement. And even during my interview, they showed me the map. And the line of officers told me to leave. The section states that you must make an attempt to leave, which of course that was what the Uber was for. It was an attempt to leave the area. It was very clear. By the time they arrested me, there's other footage that's quite hilarious of me being walked out, other people were filming, and they literally got stopped by the Uber that was waiting for me. So, and that's why they charged me the second time randomly in the night for another charge, because they noticed that the first charge they gave was incredibly bogus.
So hang on. Just to be clear, so they can tell you to leave, and the requirement is that you have to make an attempt to leave, but you literally have video footage of you trying to catch waiting for your Uber, which is an obvious attempt to leave. You literally have an Uber on your way, and you have video proof of that. And so you're saying that once they lock you up, they realize, okay, this is not going to work at all. We're going to go in there and say, He had to make an effort to leave. Oh, he's got video footage of him waiting on his Uber in order to leave. This will get laughed out of court. Therefore, we have to charge him with something else because we want to keep harassing this guy. Is that about right?
Yeah. And like when it came to the interviews as well, like they completely ballsed up. So I did a speech. So the static protest turned to a march. The march was on the high street, which was miles away. And I did a speech towards the end of the march, completely miles away from where the section was, right? I used a megaphone. Now, they used a recording and tried to argue that that speech was given at the time of the section in the area that the section was in. So these officers, and if you go back to the recording, it's like, you have been seen protesting. My suspicion is this: they've completely fucked. So the way they do arrests in the UK typically is that constables go to their sergeants and ask, can we arrest someone and what can we arrest them for? My imagination is that the sergeant saw the video, didn't know when it was, then tried to arrest me because they saw me protesting what they believed was moments before they received the call to attempt to arrest me, then got me in the van, said, shit, that is in the high street, not near the Bell Hotel. And by the way, for any viewers wanting to know, this hotel, an Ethiopian migrant who claimed refugee status, even though there's no persecution going for gentlemen like that, sexually assaulted a 14-year-old of this area. And he's in a hotel because he's a refugee, and we keep these individuals, these people who we don't know where they come from and their documentation, in hotels that we pay for. He only got 12 months for raping someone, which is ridiculous. And they protested for it.
What do you think about that, AP? Starting to love your American citizenship finally instead of glorifying Turkey?
What do you want me
Germany?
to think about?
Like, this area, by the way, has had that, and it's also had very recently, and this is how, compare what's going to happen to me. I could face 2 years in prison because the second charge I got done for was a hate crime, right? That is 2 years potentially in prison. The second one is a migrant who broke into 5 different schools, got released on the same day, next day did the same thing with 3 other schools, and didn't even get arrested for breaking in schools. Only got arrested because he refused and jumped bail. And he's probably not going to get any prison time for it.
Who is Vodi, David? Who is Vodi? Who is
Vodi?
Vodi?
He died today.
People are saying Vodi died. I don't know who Vodi is.
Yeah, that's because you're barely a cat human, man.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense.
I'll go ahead and read a description. Legendary pastor, man. American pastor, author, and educator, served 9 years as Dean of Theology at African Christian University in Zambia, founding president of Founder Seminary in Cape Coral, Florida. Florida. Yeah. I never really followed him, but a bunch of people that I know and respect loved the guy a lot. So, yep. That's why we need young people, and they're trying to destroy them.
Well,
I believe the children are the future.
I've just released an article about this actually on my website. So the same website that the donation link got sent to. One of the first articles I've reposted with why young people don't do activism. And it's because we have this system called Prevent. Prevent is the counterterrorism watchdog organization. And they are essentially now putting children on watch lists. Now, there was a case last year of an 11-year-old student, Jewish, was considered vulnerable and had said there was only 2 genders. He's now put on a terrorist watch list. I know a guy who put Colonel Gaddafi on his Instagram picture. He got labeled a threat to British democracy. He's 17. There's like like young people are genuinely scared shitless for their future careers because they post mildly conservative talking points and immediately get shunned out by their social groups in schools, demoralized by their teachers, then reported as a genuine threat to British democracy. And that doesn't then just begin if you become vocal. The police then start to get involved. Social services then start getting involved, in which your parents then, because they don't want to get viewed as endangering you, probably will then immediately stop whatever you're currently doing. So there's so many hurdles for so many young people. And especially considering a lot of the times what I see is that people come to Christianity through politics, because conservatism is conserving. What it's conserving is up to your religion. Now, Christianity is the most popular because it, kind of draws on the heart and the emotions of most young men that are going through so much at this current moment. So they're conserving Christianity. That is what it essentially reduces down to. So politics is always so powerful in bringing people to Christianity, and the reason why you're not seeing people, young people especially, although you're seeing an increase of young people turn to the Christian faith, your problem's going to be that now you have this terrible problem that they're not being discipled properly in Christianity because they don't have a political philosophy to then back themselves with it.
This is your website here.
Yes.
Why young conservatives fear speaking out. And then arrested twice at 17 years old. Yep, that's young Bob right there. They got him. They got young Bob. You could say they caught him. Public enemy number one in the UK. They're giving up on Tommy and just focusing on young Bob now, apparently. And then say no to digital IDs.
Which is a big thing now. To kind of roll back on IDs here, to migration, they're going to forcefully mandate you to have a digital ID that they can keep tabs on you. So, and that is to counter immigration. It's been a thing for the longest amount of time now. It's just to ensure people are controlled. It's just another way of controlling their opposition.
And so everyone, you've seen young Bob goes to a protest. Police say, hey, you got to leave. So he gets an Uber to leave. And then they say, oh, we're arresting you because you didn't make an effort to leave. You say, hey, I'm literally waiting on my Uber. It's on its way. I'm obviously trying to leave. They lock you up anyway, and that's a common thing for police. They can lock you up based on anything, and then they root around and find something else. So we'll just say, hey, we're going to arrest you for this, and then that's not going to stand up. So while we've got him locked up, let's figure out something else to lock him up for that might stick better. And meanwhile, we have this story. Attacker of Quran burning protester is spared jail. So there was a guy, I think wasn't he Turkish? Didn't you guys interview him, AP? You and Hatun?
Yes, he was Turkish guy.
I'll go ahead and read the beginning of this article. We're not going to read the whole thing. Everyone else can check it out. But attacker, and then AP, you can break down the story a little bit. Attacker of Quran burning protester is spared jail. So this guy, well, let's go ahead and read it real quick. A Muslim man, surprised they identified him as Muslim. They would usually just say a man. But anyway, a Muslim man who attacked someone burning a Quran outside the Turkish consulate in London has been spared jail. Musa Kadri, 59, saw Hamit Koskan setting alight the text and shouted, "I'm going to kill you," before slashing at him with a knife. He later told police he was protecting his religion, Southwark Crown Court heard. Judge Adam Hiddleston handed Kadri a 20-week prison sentence, suspended for 18 months. Suspended for 18 months. In other words, if he doesn't get in any trouble for 18 months, then that goes away. But if he gets in trouble, then he's got 20 weeks suspended sentence. So they say, hey, 20 weeks, but we're not gonna do anything about it. We're not going to send you to jail if you last 18 months or whatever, or 18 weeks or whatever that says. Then we won't lock. AP, you're sitting here on a show with young Bob.
Muslim Cowboy, he sells free Qurans that are like identical to the one you're currently ripping. Do you just rip off Muslim apologists who offer free Qurans and then just like rip them on camera?
Yes.
That's a good scam. And yeah, that's essentially fucked me for UK audiences. Thank you, jihadists. That's your justification video right there.
Yeah, that's going to be used against young Bob in court. It's going to be he's fraternizing with a Quran desecrator.
I condemn foreign agitators ripping Quran pages,
especially these deranged Turkish evil people.
Yeah.
Hey, young Bob, if it helps any, just say, but he's Turkish. He doesn't know any better. But that wouldn't help because it only works with Muslims. Because the guy who got attacked was Turkish, and they let the guy get away with it. And so, AP, why don't you break down that whole situation because you interviewed the guy. We could read everything about it, but you could give us the important.
He's working on the pyrotechnics on the Quran right now.
So the guy is he's from Turkey. He's of I think Turkish Kurdish origin or something like that. He wanted to in the UK protest against certain actions by the Turkish government and also by European governments, and as a result of that, set the Quran on fire while shouting certain slogans in protest against Islam and against Turkey and all that. So as he was doing that, there was a person of Muslim origin from the window shouting at him and saying, "I'm going to come and kill you! I'm going to kill you! I'm going to kill you!" and all that. And so this guy Hamid, he just continued with his protest of burning the Quran. Eventually, that guy came out with a very visible knife. The knife is also on camera. So he came out with a knife in order to slash and, as he said it, kill him. Now, here is the thing. In the United States of America, if you attack somebody and you say, "I'm going to kill you," this is directly used as evidence for your intention to murder somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So,
especially for slashing at the person with a knife.
Yeah. Apparently in the UK, that's like, but he was doing it because he was feeling very hurt.
His feelings were hurt.
Oh yeah, the threshold for a hate crime is literally whether someone feels anything about it.
So,
but whenever just to be clear, whenever they make feelings a requirement, or feelings some sort of criterion, it's only certain feelings that matter. Like if you say, "Hey, I'm horribly, my feelings are very hurt over what's going on in the UK," your feelings don't matter. If this guy's feelings are hurt and he's a Muslim, his feelings really, 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 really matter a lot.
The funny thing is,
by the way, AP, if young Bob gets in trouble for what you're doing right here, you are responsible for all of his legal fees. I just want that known right here at the beginning.
To be fair, it'd be pretty worth it. Imagine like admitting into evidence AP just like Turkish git and just lighting a Quran. It's like I couldn't keep a straight face. Like they tried to do it in my interview room as well. Like they were playing recordings of me saying like we should deport illegal economic migrants. And they were trying to get me feeling sorry for myself, and I was just chuckling. I was like. They were trying to accuse me of being a white supremacist. I was like, I just simply do not care. I mean, if you come here with the expressive intention of exploiting a vulnerable system, firstly, it's like a hole in the fence. I blame the man for making the hole in the fence and not filling it in, but I also blame the man who went under the fence.
Not filling it in the Zoot sense, just to be clear. Go ahead.
Okay. And the Paul Williams sense, of course, one in the same. But yeah, you blame the man for going under the hole and also for not filling it up. You blame the government and also the supposed refugee for coming here in the first place. And it's not a hate crime. And this is what I think is astounding. Hate speech laws try to teach that saying things, the words physically being pronounced, somehow have meaning. It's not the meaning that you should be looking towards, the actual words being said, but rather what the person actually believes in. If you start policing speech, people are still going to believe in these things. In fact, it's going to be in an even worse way. I mean, for example, do you not see on the right this rise of ethno-nationalism, this concept that we can't have any legal migrants? It has to be purely the ethnicity of the native population. Now, that's an extreme that I don't hold to. I don't think it's a practical way of living. Now,
it's a reaction, though. It's a reaction.
Yeah, exactly. It's a
people
reaction
like
to
the further
policing.
you push in one direction, the further people push back in the opposite direction, and so on. And people become more extreme because it's a reaction to other people going insane.
It's like if you ban the N-word, sure, no one's going to exhibit publicly racism, but are people still going to be racists in their hearts? Of course, yes. People are still, if someone is racist, they'll still internally judge a black man and believe they're going to be less than the white man. A similar thing. Words don't have meaning just because they simply leave your mouth. You can't police that. If you're actually going to truly do that, you might as well be Orwellian and try to police someone's thoughts. Like, I'm still going to believe, yeah, deport the Ethiopian who sexually assaults a 14-year-old because he's clearly not here because he's being persecuted. I could go to Ethiopia right now, no problem, or probably a problem, but not as big as one should need to go all the way to the UK, an island nation.
Mm-hmm. Yep, indeed.
So the guy was attacked. He was being slashed by that guy. He got his I think one of his fingers broken. He got his hands hurt and his body hurt and all that. Upon this, the attacker walked away, whereas the protester Hamid, who burnt the Quran, was taken to the hospital. But then at the hospital, he was actually arrested by the police. So he is picked up from the hospital and is arrested, brought before a court, and at the court he speaks about what happened. And there it is actually said that that they cannot immediately confirm that the attacker actually came at him with a knife, which is very funny because it was directly on camera.
Yeah,
So-
I've seen the video footage.
and so there was also another individual with his bike there who was also holding him up and hit him with his bike. The bike got damaged in the process. That's how bad it was. So Hamid, the Quran burner, he goes to. He is arrested. He's released temporarily. However, he is brought to a secret, safe location by the police, where he has to stay for the duration of the investigations, and he cannot leave that place. And the court is, of course, very hostile toward him. He tries to explain that that he did this in protest against a religion that is very barbaric, but the court itself starts arguing and fighting with him and treating him in a very hostile way. The results, as we have just seen, the results. Tell us about the results, David. What just happened?
That the guy who said, "I'm going to kill you," and starts trying to hack him with a knife, no jail time. No jail time. Young Bob is probably going to serve more jail time than for his Uber not showing up quickly enough. Because if the Uber had gotten there a couple minutes earlier, young Bob would have been gone. But they're going to go after young Bob leaving a protest harder than they will at a guy who was trying to kill someone for burning a Quran.
We legitimately need human rights conventions agreed by several nations that Islam is a religion that can be critiqued and also subjected to the same form of criticism that other religions have, that people, when they instances like this, they can appeal to. Because for me, if you burn the Quran, if you do anything towards this religion, like, for example, there was a teacher, I think 2 years ago, who drew a picture of Muhammad. He's still in hiding. He's still not been left out of hiding, because if he is found, he will be killed. So point being is that we need to legitimately have this convention agreed by several developed westernized countries that we can appeal to as apologists, as any politician who speaks out against Islam. And interestingly enough, the only politicians right now in the UK speaking out against Islam is people in the House of Lords. And the House of Lords is a position within government that you can only achieve through being a lord, which is typically either given to you by a prime minister or inherited from your father. And no one can remove your lordship, right? So the only people who speak about Islam are the people who know they can't get in trouble for saying anything about it.
I think the solution should be very different. I think there is at this point with travesties, with perversions like this going on, where the native population and the native religions and the native culture are being treated in a hostile way by the government in charge, whereas a foreign, subversive, violent, barbaric religion is defended and gets special privileges, and its defenders and advocates get special privileges. I mean, think about it. We just talked about Prevent. Just talked about how people are put on a list for simply making simple online posts or saying something offensive and all that. Meanwhile, in the UK, you can literally say, "I believe in establishing an Islamic State and killing apostates," and you will not be put on that list. You will be completely treated as an okay person. Everything is all right. You will not get in any trouble. We know the examples. We know that they don't get in any trouble. So unfortunately, this is what the United Kingdom has become, and there are some indicators that the next elections, which are very far away, might bring a swing into a corrective right-wing direction. But I think that one of the next reasonable goals that the United Kingdom, or that the patriotic people of the United Kingdom should pursue, is to deport, massive numbers of Muslims from the country.
Muhammad Allahu Akbar! There goes your evidence, UK police. Can't prove anything now.
And to also
Try and use that against young Bub. Watch what happens. Their proof won't be
shut down mosques, shut down lots of mosques, crack down on organizations, start arresting anybody who makes statements in favor of Islamization or Islamism or Islamic politics, and maybe deport half the Muslim population, or many of them. So I think there are some measures that need to be taken in order to protect the people of this country.
I think there's a funny way of banning mosques, actually. You do it in such a way that you just slowly start stripping away what a mosque is. So like, we ban divides on sex in worship. Okay, that completely just shuts down any prayer within a mosque. And you just like slowly start cutting back on...
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's a good idea. It's like slowly deconstructing Lego bricks. Because then they can't complain we're just... a mosque ban. We're just banning this like very backward form of worship that you guys have implemented.
The thing is that this will also affect, if it's a very general law, this might also affect some Orthodox churches. It also
no, because we only divide across. It's only really a traditional thing when we have left and right, but we're not like completely dividing our worship. It's all pointing towards the front,
That's
which
true.
is the
That's
Eucharist and Christ. And also, there's nothing stopping you, hypothetically, within the churches that hold to these traditions, you going on the left or the right. I mean, this is why a lot of churches have kind of lost that. The problem with Islam is just that they've so weirdly just wanted to divide the sects in their worship. Because, of course, this is the same religion that brought you an extreme modesty policy, because they were fearful that men would lust for women, and they wanted to blame the women for that lust.
Yeah. It's very, very dangerous.
Let's go ahead and check out 2 clips from Bob shortly after Charlie was shot. Here's young Bob speaking.
Stands in the legacy of Charlie.
So what's this, a vigil?
Yes, it was the vigil. We had 1,000 people
Wow.
showing. This was literally towards the end when we did a procession to the Churchill Monument, in which we laid down pictures, and I just gave a spontaneous speech. We already finished our speeches that day, and this seemed to be the one that gained quite a lot of traction, fortunately.
So where's this particular location? Anything we're familiar with?
Next to a Churchill Monument. That'd be the biggest one. Okay. Near Big Ben.
Near Big Ben. Okay, yeah, we know where that is.
Stands in the legacy of Charlie Kirk. He stood on a platform of civil discourse, and we cannot stop to continue that civil discourse when our opposition will not meet us on the tent, but rather shoot at us. I have done stands at Camden Town, and whenever you do a stand, you potentially consent to your political opposition being the thing by which you die by. And I guarantee you, I have seen the United Kingdom, the radical left, have been persecuting the Conservatives, who have one clear message: We want to conserve our culture and our heritage. We will not.
That makes you far right. That makes you far right.
A culture that killed Charlie Kirk. We will continue in civil discourse. We will continue his work. We will pick up the megaphones, the microphones, the stands. They won't be able to move our minds by an inch, because I guarantee you, ladies and gentlemen, I will continue to speak up at university campuses. I will continue to speak up in the
I just want to point out to everyone, the shooter who killed Charlie Kirk had the exact same mindset as the lawmakers and the police who locked up young Bob. It's the exact same mindset. We have to stop this person from speaking because we don't like what he's saying, and therefore we have to stop him. One more clip from young Bob. Oh, go ahead.
It's literally just they want your destruction because they don't. And this is what I keep on saying across the podcasts where people ask me this question, like, what would you take away from the current political scene in the UK? Or it's just like we need to revert back to this very basic and also childish understanding that we're all dignified and made in the image of God. And I always like to point to gentlemen debating. I mean, I think, and I would give this luxury to anyone who debates with me afterwards. I can have a laugh with them. We can go out and, I don't know, have a drink, some tea.
You can't have
whatever.
a drink, you're 17.
When I say that, it's just that, you drink some Coke or some tea or whatever, and we're going to have some laughs.
Have a cup of tea.
Yeah. But for the people that oppose us, they just want to see us dead. So I don't know how we're supposed to compromise with these people. Just hopefully they'll educate themselves and get rid of the woke mind virus.
It is rough. One more clip from young Bob here after Charlie Kirk was shot.
I'm here with young Bob, who is a youth ambassador for TP UK. We're at the Charlie Kirk vigil right now. Horrible scenes, obviously, that we saw in Utah, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's just the inhumanity. We have a generation of people that are prone to watching beheading videos online. So the response on the left is very vindictive of the online radicalization on the left. And it deeply made me upset just seeing a man that was almost an immutable figure within Republican politics then just suddenly, unfortunately, die due to a bullet.
Do you think this feels to me and to other people like there may have been a sea change in that someone who was not an elected politician, someone who in many ways was quite moderate in the way he tackled politics, he believed in debate, and because of believing in debates, he lost his life and now been martyred. Do you think that there is perhaps now a potentially dangerous shift that we may have to fight back against towards?
You guys catching this? The question is, hey, now they're killing us. Do you think we might need to fight back? That's the question for young Bob here. Let's see what he says.
Normalizations of political violence.
What I think is this. Charlie Kirk died on a platform of civil discourse. If we then become radicalized and become emotional and do what Charlie Kirk's perpetrator did, that therefore demonstrates that they've won and that moderation has been thrown out of the park when it comes to the conservative movement. We're a common sense group of individuals that all believe in civil discourse and demonstrating that our opposition doesn't have any position to argue with. So then, if we're then moved to attacking our oppressors, what does that therefore make us? Just like them.
Yeah, so everyone, you had Charlie Kirk, who would set up 2 microphones on college campuses, one for him, one for anyone who wants to step up and challenge him on anything. He had to die for that. You can't do that anymore. And in the UK, young Bob has the same idea, and they lock him up for it. And young Bob right there was asked, hey, if people are just going to start killing us, should we retaliate? Young Bob says, no, that's what they want. And they would win. They would win if we give up on having civil discourse and resort instead to violence. And keep in mind, the UK government and police looking at what young Bob just said would look at all this See, we'd be looking at this and going, "Wow, what a perfect response to a question that would be on lots of people's minds." Wait a minute, if they're going to go around killing us now, what are we supposed to do? Aren't we supposed to go? Aren't we supposed to start fighting back? And he gives what most of us regard as a perfect response, and yet government officials, police, everyone looking at this guy has to be stopped. We cannot allow this guy to continue speaking. And what do they do to get Charlie Kirk killed? Well, all you have to do is keep lying about what the person's saying and so on, enrage a bunch of people, and someone takes him out. In the UK, you can have the same sort of thing because young Bob can get taken out by jihadis that he's annoying.
Worth it.
But
That's all I'm saying.
but the police as well. It's, hey, let's toss him in a big building full of people who want to kill him for what he's saying. That's the idea.
I mean, I've said this before. I mean, I imagine I'd be scared shitless if someone. I've heard stories of people just like have knives been put up their throats in prisons, like convert to Islam. We'll give you a day. If not, we'll kill you. If that happens to me, I'll be shaking. I would be spitting at them and cursing their prophet. So it's probably not the best place to put me in, because I would not last long. I mean, I hardly look like the most threatening lad in the planet. So.
I can confirm you would not last long, young Bob.
Yes.
I always tell people, I'm like, hey, prison's not as bad as you think, and so on. But I'm speaking from the perspective of a guy who was 6'3" and 235 pounds, and in there for a violent felony. If you're in there for an extremely violent felony, you tend to not mess with guys like that unless it's for a reason. And I usually didn't give people a reason. I'd sit there, I'd play cards, I'd lift weights, I'd play spades with people and stuff like that. It's not bad. Prison's not bad. You wake up, you got to stand by your bunk, you eat, you do whatever your job is. You go lift weights, play some ball, something like that. It's not bad. Again, that's from the perspective of a guy who's 6'3", 235 pounds, and generally, unless there's a really good cause, people aren't going to mess with me. You'd be in there in an environment where you are young, 17-year-old, white, political extremist in their eyes on the opposite side of the people that you're in there with. And there would be plenty of Muslims there, and you seem to lack the ability to be quiet.
That's not going to last long.
I don't want you to get locked up, man. I seriously don't want you to get locked. Even like Tommy, I'm like, gosh, that sucks. That sucks for Tommy. But at the end of the day, he's a scrappy dude. He knows.
Well, he had to claim 7 months in solitary confinement,
That's what I mean.
even though the recommendation is 40 days. Every single political activist I know who's been sent into prison does not have the balls to go into a non-segregated unit or a unit that is in solitary. And the problem with that is it's not a long-term solution. If Tommy didn't go, so he was in solitary twice, if he didn't go on the first time and get used to the fact that your mind is completely gone for a good few months during a recovery period, I don't think he would have been able to survive that long. So yeah, if I were to be arrested, I don't know what a youth detention center looks like in terms of isolating yourself. I would, either have to look towards signaling that I was trying to unalive myself and they'd put me somewhere. I would just plead for the officers to put me away, or I'd have to demonstrate a credible threat to my life. But even then, Tommy Robinson, when he got arrested for the first few times, for whatever reason, halfway through his sentencing, they would just put him in a different prison where there were more Muslims. And, the stories he received, he had human feces literally shoved through the cracks in the doors from Muslims who didn't want him.
Yeah, that first time he was locked up for a while, he came out looking really, really bad. He looked like he had PTSD, serious PTSD. Yeah, so young Bob, let's make sure you don't spend any time in a youth facility. And so everyone, there may come a time. Well, there will come a time when we all have an opportunity to chip into young Bob's legal funds. Let's make sure he's represented well, and that everyone knows this will not go well for the government if they lock young Bob up.
Inshallah.
Yeah, well, I just become a Muslim. Yeah, could be another opportunity.
Yeah, you should roll up in there and just take over, man.
Yeah.
Yo, Muslims,
Yeah, I
what's up?
should just like become a sheikh, man. Sheikh Young Bob. Just like start randomly. Yeah. I don't know what as a sheikh, I would have some weird rulings, man. I'd make that prison like such a zest fest. It would be hilarious. I'll just make all the Muslims like.
What's funny is even if you were like playing around and pretending, you'd probably be like significantly more knowledgeable about Islam than all the rest of the guys. Than all the rest of the guys there. You'd be the hero, man. They'd be propping you up. You could start your own. Prison gang of Muslims.
I'd start like my own like scam Discord course for prison inmates to learn more about Islam. Yeah, I'd do better than like the AI like sham chatbots they have to learn about Islam. Because like, if you've ever been to them, I think we should do videos on them because they're hilarious. You download them, they're literally just stolen large language models with like reprinted prompts towards Islam. Because you can like give it Christian answers. You can ask it about the Bible, and it's not going to give you an Islamic answer. You can ask it questions and prompt chain it to say like Christ is God. You make it believe that the Alawites are true and worshipping Allah. Like these people are. It's so scammy. Islam. Islam is like the Andrew Tate model of a religion, but it's like philosophically trained to be a caveman's religion. It's strange. Like Allah has cursed the believers with some demented religion.
This is very offensive, man. I don't know, I feel kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm starting to see why they locked you up, man.
I don't know why. Like I say things that are like through observation, and then they decide that, unfortunately, that the conclusions that I suddenly come to are not unfounded. I mean, a warmongering, caravan thieving, cave hiding prophet from the 7th century, unfortunately, doesn't really appease me that much. And us importing illiterate individuals who blindlessly follow this man, I just won't have it here in the UK.
Hey, in court, you need to be like, Your Honor, I'm autistic. I just can't help myself speaking the truth about this child molesting, murdering rapist. I mean, what do you want me to do? I read about this illiterate caravan robber that these guys worship, and you guys tell me to speak the truth, but it's, I mean, you tell me I can't say anything about it.
That's what I wanted to say. In prison, you can request for books to read in your cell. I requested for a Bible and a Quran. First thing I noticed about the Bible is the New World Translation. I was like, what the fuck? I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. Like, what are they trying to do to me? They're trying to poison me philosophically. Because I was reading, I didn't even notice it because they dimmed the lights so I could barely read. I was reading, randomly picked the page, and it was John 1:1. I was like, this is such a weird reading of the text. What am I reading from?
And the word was a God.
Yeah, and I was like, shit, it's the New World Translation. Like, I'm guessing it's because they were very wealthy. They probably donated to prisons or whatever. So that's like something we should look into. It's not Islamic radicalization we should be concerned about. It's the Jehovah's Witnesses getting the prison population. To be honest with you, I honestly can't comment on what I did to the Quran in that cell. It was perfectly intact, though.
Do not ever comment on it because it can.
It was perfectly intact. The officers had it. It was in perfectly fine condition. I'm just not going to say what I did.
And will be passed on to the next guy. That's good.
Yeah, it was passed on to the next believing Muslim who believed in that nonsense. But, did add some decorum to the room.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
Very nice. Let's take these super chats because some of them are about you and for you. 90% of gun crimes happen in gun-free zones, unironically. Also, we need a national Zoot Day. We should have a national Zoot Day. Hey, we should pick a day.
Muhammad's birthday, why not? We finally end the contention amongst Sunni Muslims whether to worship and not worship his birthday, or recognize his birthday, and we just celebrate the Azut.
The Zut Day. The International Zut Day. African talk show host interviewing Momo in Boom Boom Room about his relationship with Dia. Why are you gay? Yeah, that'd be a good one. Is there any help in UK if you've been verbally abused by Muslims at a workplace? I'm quite scared and I'm European, need help.
You can get in contact, be a member of the Free Speech Union. That's my only recommendation. A lot of these times, like, there may be a law that they've broken doing that. And of course, one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of protesters as well is that when you join work, you have to sign most of the time a social media contract. This is why I'll never be employed, by the way, because they literally say within these contracts, if you say these things, you cannot have a job here, or you will be sacked. If you protest publicly, you'll get sacked. So it really depends on your social media policy. It really depends on what your work policy is when you signed your contract, and also whether the police can be asked, unfortunately.
Pastor Vodi Buckham passed it today. Yep. Young Bob isn't Protestant, no longer based. Yep, and that's from Inspiring Minecraft, which is
I'll take that on, man.
Which is IP's new video gaming channel. I guess you're playing on Hummus versus Hamas. Hamas eaters would be a great name for Israel's new air-to-ground missiles. Yeah, it would be in honor of Tucker. Young Bob isn't Protestant, based. Wait a minute. So, hang on. So, Inspiring Minecraft said, Young Bob isn't Protestant, no longer based. And then Noam said, Young Bob isn't Protestant, based. It seems we have a war going on.
But Young Bob is Orthodox, based.
When I hear Asperger's, I always think it's a food. Yeah, you should try beef burgers, everyone. Who would want to eat that kind of burger? Maybe if you were the Al-Zut and saw someone called Momo.
It's just Tylenol. That's what it is.
Young Bob, you are totally based. He is totally based.
That's from a Catholic. Fuck that. I'm religiously ambiguous now, man. I'm in all demographics.
I heard Bible Gateway was blocked in the UK. True? I did see something on that, but I didn't.
Online Safety Act means that it essentially is legislation that is ambiguously defined, in which it is meant to save children from explicit content via blocking explicit content through an ID verification system. Now, problem one, it costs a lot to get an ID verification system. Problem two, a lot of people don't want to give their ID to an ID verification system. So slowly, companies have been contacted by Ofcom and other regulatory bodies in the UK, and because of what they say, and especially they've considered the Bible Gateway for what it says in the Bible as explicit content not suitable for minors, and they can't afford the ID verification, so they've now blocked it. So get a VPN, or alternatively, you can go to prison and become Jehovah's Witness. It's the only two options.
Like Young Bob. Like Young Bob.
Yeah.
Peace and blessings be upon Young Bob.
Peace be with you.
Did you hear about what residents of Dearborn, Michigan are going through with having to hear the Adhan blasting at 5 a.m. despite noise ordinances? Not surprising at all. I mean, I was there 15, 16, 17 years ago, and the mosques would be blasting the sermon over a loudspeaker, for all the surrounding area. Matter of fact, I mean, I said it back then. Keep in mind, you've got different areas of Dearborn, right? You go to West Dearborn, it's different stuff. But you go to South or East Dearborn, if you fell asleep and woke up and didn't know where you were, you would think you were in Saudi Arabia. The signs all around you are all in Arabic and so on. Everyone's dressed like they're in Saudi Arabia and so on. That is Dearborn. But just sucks that no one warned anyone about Dearborn all these years ago.
I mean, don't ask me about the Adhan, man. I mean, I live in a country that is currently building mosques with 2% Muslim population. So even if you don't live in an Islamic shithole in the UK, one is being currently imported to you. So yeah, all I would say to people, if you don't hear the Adhan and you hear that there is a mosque construction nearby you, look at the donations they're taking in, because you found this in I think it was Norway as well. But here in the Lake District, they built a very controversial mosque, and they started asking for donations per person, 300 quid each, for waterproofing the mosque. So I don't know, mosque construction just seems like a scammy business. I think we should like audit this shit out of that, because that's heavily fishy.
Hey David, we should go to Dearborn and maybe record a video about the adhan being played up there.
But maybe we should build our own mosques, and that's how we phone all scams. You know,
That's a good idea too.
AP, we should get God Logic and stuff and go set up in a park and challenge all people to come and debate with us.
Let's do it.
Would a British cop defend a Muslim taking liberties with that British cop's child? Yeah, you think people won't do stuff, but if you convince them that it's evil to resist in any way, not surprising at all. They were. I mean, back in the day, there were the stories of a man would complain that what they're doing to his daughter in this house, and police would arrest the dad for complaining that his daughter's being in there being
well, interestingly,
drugged and pimped and raped and stuff.
The police have sympathies with us now. So after Charlie Kirk's passing, they noticed that the left in the UK were literally saying Charlie's in a effing box, right? One of the biggest far left rallies to counter-protest the Tommy Robinson March. They all started saying that. So the police have seen, and again, police officers are just people. A lot of the constables there are just people. Now, they won't publicly say what would happen if the same thing that happened to that 14-year-old happened to them. But they would be equally rioting on the streets as anyone else would be. So it only takes one police officer's child for that to happen to, and you're back into Southport.
This guy actually said there's something wrong with Tommy. Not gonna lie, I can't use that word. And I heard that Americans, when they pronounce it
Twat.
differently from British people.
Twat.
The only
He is
problem,
such a twat.
the only problem I have with Tommy is that he defends Andrew Tate. That's my problem with him. Other than that, guy's pure gold. People should be honored to have him in your country. Have you heard of Ryan Williams? Yes, the Scottish Korean guy raised in the UK. You should cover him. He mentioned El Zut on UK TV. Yeah, it was Sky News. It was Australian. It's Australian Sky News.
Yeah, because they wouldn't let me on Sky News. I was meant to go on half an hour before to cover Charlie Kirk, and I feel like they were going to do a hit piece on him, and they were going to, because they were trying to get spokespersons from Turning Point UK, and they decided to pick me. They looked in, and this is what the legacy media do. They look into who you are, then make a momentarily decision to chuck you off. So yeah, it's only Sky News Australian that will platform far right idiots like us, which is weird.
One second. Just to show everyone I am on the ball.
Which ball?
Yeah, Zoot ball.
1 second. 1 second. 1 and 4, 3, 2, 1.
Allahu Akbar!
No. Let's see. By popular request, here we go, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I mean, the reason I've got bacon on my shoulders is because the terrorists are a charming lot, and they threaten to behead me every single day. So a little bit of protection. But I've got to say, I'm from the UK. We have the threat nearly every single day from Islam invasion. Our second biggest city, Birmingham, is already majority Muslim. Our mayor of London is Muslim. And the new Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, is Muslim. And I just have a very clear, simple message to Muslims.
So here you have a Korean. So you can't even object to him being a white supremacist. And here he has some friendly advice for his Muslim friends.
Which is, stop worshipping a pedo warlord who's the Bonnie Blue of the 7th century, sleeping with 30 Al Zoot men, who married a six-year-old and slept with a 9-year-old. And there's only one culture that pours acid on women's faces. There's only one culture that makes women cover their faces so other men don't rape them.
Been told we do have to apologise for what was just aired, those comments earlier.
That man is not going to be seen on legacy media for a long time. He's going to have to pay some hefty bills. Yeah, poor fucker's going to have to loyal up.
That was instant legend status. And yeah, as far as you should cover him, he mentioned El Zut on UK TV. Yes, I shared that on X, and I sent him an email. He sent me his email on X, and then I emailed him, and then he emailed me back, and so on. Let's see. Is writing letters?
He's okay.
Yeah. Is writing letters to the editor defending Israel effective? I've been doing it for about a year, but not sure if better doing other advocacy. Yeah, I would guess the editors of newspapers have already made up their minds, and so you'd be better off on a platform where you're talking to regular people. Serious question. Why does England want Islam to take over? There's really no other reason that things are going the way they are going. Any thoughts on this, young Bob?
Yeah, sorry, say that again. Why
it says, why does England want Islam to take over? There's really no other reason that things are going the way they are. It's like you're looking at it, it's like they're doing everything. Like, let me put it this way. If a government sat back and said, we really, 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 really want Islam to completely take over and establish an Islamic state, it seems like they would be doing exactly what they're doing now. And so you look at that and say, but also if you're just really stupid and people know how to take advantage of you and brainwash you and so on, you kind of be doing the same thing. So anyway.
Yeah, I believe that it's just purely coincidental in the way that it's becoming a majority Muslim country. So, of course, people take advantage of vulnerable and exploit vulnerable systems. If you get free benefits, you're going to come here, of course, through illegal means. Smugglers promise the entire world to these people when they come here through dependency schemes that they're not actually eligible for. So if you just take so many Muslims in, it might as well just be a Muslim land. So it's a slow, unintentional conquering of the West, just through the fact that, firstly, a lot of these militant Muslims that we see in the West, a lot of the Middle Eastern countries don't initially want. Then that comes to, well, they have to go somewhere, and why do they not go to a country where they're most treated to? So they come here, and they amalgamate small communities in which they can kind of familiarize themselves with certain courts. You have Sharia courts, you have halal slaughter. All of these things are slowly then imported to a point where you have modern infrastructure, you have their foreign religion, you're taking it in, you're taking advantage of a system that has been fine without Islam for thousands of years, then you're slowly conquering. It's not a matter of there's this secret Islamic committee, this Justice League of Muslims, and they've pointed on a map this country they want to take over. It's just the fact that Western society has stayed idly by the fact that Islam is a legitimate threat that you have to border. And instead it's favored this failed product of multiculturalism that teaches that you should be anti-establishment and import this exotic religion that isn't the
that your entire culture is pure evil, and that your entire culture is pure evil, and you basically deserve to be conquered because you're so evil.
Yes, essentially.
Abraham says, Dizzle, when you say D's nuts to cops, do you need to specify which type, like walnuts, hazelnuts, zut nuts? That sounds like it could actually be a nut somewhere. Prevent are probably why D Wood is banned from UK.
Maybe they probably did handle you being a threat and all.
Great to see AP back, and good to see the support for Young Bob. Yes, we'll be supporting Young Bob and keeping everyone updated. Young Bob, Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence in 1776. Not too late for you to sign it. Talking about you people in the UK.
Yeah, man, I should move to the US and just be able to burn Qurans free of charge.
Hey, seriously. If you have an opportunity to get the heck out of there and
I want to fight for my country, man. Legitimately,
I'm just saying. Biblically, you can defend either perspective. There were times when Jesus said, "Hey, it's not my time," and he got out of there. And there are times you knock the dust off your feet and say, "I'm out of here." And also times where you stand to the death. I'm saying whatever you decide, you have our support.
Yeah, I mean, all I would say is that my mind is set. Of course, there's some things that I would like to experience in you guys' home country, but for me, there are some things that are unattachable to Britain that I can't live without, in my personal opinion. I'd prefer to defend the land of my ancestors. The homage goes that you can't bite the hand that fed you, and I think to capitulate the UK, literally the founding father of modern society, would be incredibly dishonest and also a complete failure in history books. We cannot capitulate the UK to radical Muslims and the militant left. That would be a turning point for Western civilization if we fall, because we're an island nation that no military could ever invade. And now we're being invaded by a bunch of idiots and dinghies who can barely construct an English sentence.
Well, I thought you were in favor of turning points.
Yeah, if they work enough either.
Okay. He was alarmed and distressed. I don't know what that was referring to, because this is from.
I think all British people should move to America. Problem solved.
I came to the UK as a refugee, got my without speaking a word of English.
GCSEs.
Without speaking a word of English. I'm from the Democratic Republic of Congo. I know what hardship looks like, and this ain't it.
I mean, like, I think he's referring to my situation. I
Oh,
understand.
We're not saying that if you're in the Democratic Republic of Congo getting your head chopped off, that being locked up is worse. No one's saying that. We're saying we had a system where you don't have a lot of that screwed up stuff, and the system seems to be getting worse, and they're trying to avoid eventually becoming like the Democratic Republic of Congo.
And also, I would say this. I have the privilege of having a novelty of being somewhat exposed on the internet. There are people who have it way worse, who are immediately arrested one day in the middle of the night. No one knows who they are. No one has footage of their arrest. They're remanded for 3 months. No one knows what they're going through. They get a duty solicitor that barely speaks any English, and they're completely messed up. They're forced to give a guilty plea, and they spend years in prison for what they say and what they post on Twitter. Now, even compare that situation to whatever persecution you faced in your country, it's not comparable. The point is I'm incredibly privileged. I just don't want my situation to deteriorate and be worse. And of course, unfortunately, we live in a system where if you get a good enough lawyer, things should turn out in your favor. Hypothetically speaking, of course.
Yeah. So Babu, yeah, shut up. You can do that anything. A woman can be getting raped right now, and you can say, well, it's not as bad. That woman got raped and by 20 people and killed. So why are you complaining? Shut up, man. We don't like 17-year-olds getting locked up for any sort of protest and so on. AP doing Quran voodoo learned from Ezra worshiper.
Indeed,
that's true. Free my man's young Bob didn't do nothing. That's true. Probably shouldn't be able to be a leftist Christian, though.
Yeah, they're pretty annoying. They're so entitled. I mean, Christians can have whatever political opinion as long as it's justified biblically. All I would say is that people who are like... I spoke to this priest the other day at a migration protest who was pro-open borders. And... well, firstly, they hate their opposition. They're not Christ-like at all. Secondly, I've got, church fathers used to say that Islamic immigration is a consequence of the atheists and the heretics, like church contemporaries. So you tell me, like, what is the more biblical and church position historically? Our church was saying, oh yes, our being persecuted by the Muslims is punishment from God, and you're saying these same individuals that persecuted our forefathers are now completely welcome into the country that you're trying to foster Christian society in. Ridiculous.
Someone asked, Apologetics Roadshow, on which stream did you honorable guys talk about the Hamas Charter? How would we know? We probably talked about it in like 10. You'd have to go through. You'd have to do exactly what we would have to do. If we wanted to figure it out, we would have to go through a bunch of our live streams and then find it. Find which ones we talked in, because we wouldn't know off the top of our head. So that's exactly what you could do. You could look through our live streams and so on. So we don't know. However, I did talk about the the Hamas charter in my most recent video about Tucker Carlson, because Tucker seemed to think that Hamas is just a political organization and not Islamic at all. And so we actually went through the charter that is as Islamic as a document can be.
Yep.
Oh, here's a question for Young Bob. Will you actually get funds from the donation site? Yeah, you already said that everything.
It's all me. I built the site. I made the company. It's everything's mine. It was seriously Cross and Corner. Just an insight. It was made to kind of connect and bridge the gap between Christianity and politics, and also do more church events. I had a plan. I had churches to go to, but then everything happened with my housing situation. Got a bit better now, so I'm planning to do more then. I've literally now enabled video functionalities, so exclusive videos will be posted there. I'm going to post regularly news articles. I'm getting into more journalistic work because I used to report for other people. So, it will slowly build and develop. And of course, I've got Turning Point UK to go back to. But yes, everything, that donation link will all go back to me 100%.
Yeah, so everyone got that? There is a link in the description box that goes to Young Bob's website where there is a donate link and everything goes directly to him. So you've got a 17-year-old who is being attacked by his own government over there. Yeah, so you could be called Young Bob for apologetics at Speaker's Corner. You could be called Young Charlie for having discussions on college campuses and stuff, and maybe Young Tommy for having your government declare war on you and locking you up.
And you combine those together, you get Thomas, which is my real name.
Mods, please don't ban me. Not on the way Al Zut banned Muhammad. They didn't ban him. They loved him. Young Bob, you're in jail for a year and you have to choose a cellmate. D. Wood or Tommy Robinson?
I honestly have to go with Tommy, man.
What?
Because, okay, think about it. Okay, you live in the States, right?
Yeah.
No, think about the network connections I would have with that man, considering he's in the UK. So it would benefit my political career, firstly. Secondly, he's gone to prison for, I don't know, how long have you been in prison for?
A little over 5 years.
I don't know how long. It would be a difficult one. Also, I could make Tommy Orthodox, which would be funny.
Yeah, Tommy. Yeah. So you're kind of making some sense there. That was a well-reasoned argument, but at the end of the day, he's like 5'6", I'm like 6'3", so. I'd be better at kicking the crap out of people when they try to mess with you.
This is a British.
I was just imagining like a position where it's literally just me and him in the cell, and like no one else. It was kind of like I didn't really well think the kind of prison ecosystem. So if it was to do with that, it'd probably be you, just because you're big. But even then, if it was, even with both of you, I would just claim I'm insane and get out of there quickly as possible. Be put in isolation. That's way too many like political figures.
The thing is that David and everybody else is imagining it like an American prison. It's not like an American prison. Like American prisons are places where like everyone is constantly, working out and beating each other up and getting raped. Whereas in British prisons, it's like, oh, welcome, sir. Let me take you to your cell.
Yes, conveniently, it's tea time. It's tea time. You want a crumpet?
Would you like milk in your tea?
Secretly, they don't know, like in the middle of the night, some Muslim would break into your cell, pay off the guard, and just like slit your throat if you deny your conversion. But we're secretly still this very gentleman class culture that has completely not been eroded due to mass immigration, and in which case your stereotypes still follow through. So well done, boys. Very religious joke.
Shake Young Bob has a good ring to it, but not like Momo's ring piece revealed by the Al Zut. What's with all the Al Zut jokes? It's weird, man. I wish to see Young Bob share this hadith. Abi Daoud 4142. I just saw that one the other day, but I don't remember which one it was. I'd already searched for it. Is that the betting? Is that the betting one? That's the betting one? Yeah, okay. Yeah, the Messenger of Allah mentioned betting and said there should be betting for a man, betting for his wife, a third for a guest, but a fourth for the devil. Always good to know. Timeless wisdom of Muhammad.
My favorite hadith is just, the one where he just said it was reported that Muhammad ate chicken.
Yeah, people love that one.
It's the most meaningful hadith.
Yeah, I'm just sitting there. One of the important things that people struggle with. Should I eat chicken? It's like, oh yes, Muhammad did, so now I know. I support this stream with my whole heart, but not in the way El Zutro supported Mo.
How many Al-Zut jokes are we gonna get today?
People are weird, man. People are weird. I've been trying to think of a connection between Zorro and Al-Zut. Zorro used to cut a Z. This is before your time, young Bob. There's a character we used to watch when we were young called Zorro, and he had a sword, and he would carve a Z into things with his sword real quick. Anyway, I was wondering if the Zut could do something like that. I got to give praise to young Bob. Got to give praise to young Bob when I was 17. I was drunk or high all the time, hanging out with gangbangers, only thinking of women. Young Bob rocks.
I'm secretly doing both at the same time.
Yep. He's got time for everything. Got time for everything. God forbid young Boggs spends even one day in jail, but what if he comes out of it jacked with holy face tats and the leader of a Christian prison gang? That would be cool.
That would be sick, man. But I don't suspect I can get on that arc in an Islamic wing.
Hey, I have to say, I don't want you to go to prison, and I don't think this would happen, but I have to say it would be hilarious if you got locked up and they didn't tell us anything and that you couldn't get word out and you're there for 2 years and you come out just totally jacked and tats all over you and stuff like that. That would be, and you were like 10 times as brutal and jump right back into the college debates.
Oh yeah, it was just really buff up geezer though, to a point where it's just intimidating to be around. Because someone like me or Charlie could get away with it just because we're average guys, but you have this fucking huge jack gentleman just in a campus who's not to do anything with the university. I would freak out. I'd put that shit in lockdown, man.
Free Momo's booty from the Al-Zut, inshallah. Oh, that's a response to the guy who said inch instead of inshallah earlier, the Muslim. Bob, if you ever come here, bring mosquito spray to America. We don't have a mosquito problem. Make church bells ring again. That's a good idea. No, that would be offensive. All we get is the adhan. The left loves Islam simply because it's not Western. Look up Antonio Gramsci and the Frankfurt School.
Yeah, it's true.
It's also the conservatives in Europe. Unfortunately, in America, people have this misconception that it's just the left and the right. It's usually not the left and the right in Europe. It is. The most of the really, really bad stuff that was done in Europe was done by so-called conservatives. So. Got to be really careful with where your political parties are led.
AP, you should run a political party here in the UK, man. I think you'd be quite successful.
I think I should be. I want to become a dictator. I want to become the dictator of the UK.
You'd make great speeches.
Yeah.
Someone needs to be. Hey, Tezbot here, and let's go, and then this is the last thing we'll cover. But Tezbot says, missed some of the stream. Is there hope for UK? Well, let me go ahead and read a little bit here, and we'll get young Bob and AP's thoughts on this issue. But I also made a little video out of it, but it's about the Islamophobia, the new Islamophobia definition, which is actually from 2018, but now it looks like they're putting it into some official, it's going to become official here. But let's go ahead and check this out. So I'll speed read this. Many people have been warning for some time about the perilous consequences of introducing an official definition of Islamophobia to this country, specifically in regard to its potential to curtail free speech and introduce de facto blasphemy laws. But it's taken a leading KC, an advisor to the Attorney General, Lord Hermer, no less, to remind us of a further danger, the likelihood that it will deter police from investigating Muslim suspects or offenders for fear of accusations of racism. As reported in the Daily Telegraph today, Tom Cross KC has said it was reasonable to, Suppose that such a definition would in practice be relied on in objecting to the use of powers by the police and security services to investigate persons who happen to be Muslim for criminal offenses, including of the most serious, violent, or sexual nature. In other words, it's going to be Islamophobic to arrest people, even for the most serious, violent, or the offenses of the most serious, violent, or sexual nature. Cross added that a new state-endorsed definition of Islamophobia could also be used to rewrite hate crime and harassment laws. In other words, if you're saying anything that's critical of Islam, that's going to be a hate crime and it's going to be harassment. And we already see young Bob even before this, he's already being accused of harassment, repeatedly being taken away by police for harassment, simply for trying to have a discussion with Muslims at Speaker's Corner, supposedly the free speech capital of the universe. His misgivings are well-founded. The current definition of Islamophobia, as yet to be ratified by a working group commissioned in March by a bunch of people, is fraught with future peril. This is because it fatally conflates Islam, the religion, with the ethnic minority of most people in this country raised in that faith. As it was defined by All-Party Parliamentary Group in 2018, here we go, Islamophobia is rooted in racism and is a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. That cynical definition sought to shield both Islam and Muslims from criticism, and there's little reason to believe that the current working group will deviate from it when it reaches its conclusion. In other words, it's about to become official that the definition of Islamophobia is that Islamophobia is rooted in racism. So keep in mind, you say, hey, I don't like this death penalty for apostasy. You're a racist if you don't like the death penalty for apostasy, even if you're an apostate. If you say, hey, I don't like Muhammad having sex with a prepubescent 9-year-old girl, you're an Islamophobe and you're being a racist. And so it's a type of racism that targets expressions of Muslimness or perceived Muslimness. And they're saying, and there's multiple articles on this, that this will be used to protect the grooming gangs, because you got a grooming gang, and he says he's doing this to little girls, and it's just you're scared to death of him because, hey, what? I believe these girls are garbage. It's part of my religion. How do you object to a teaching of the religion when it's defined as racism and bigotry to have any objection at all to anything in Islam? That's the concern. They're about to make it official that if you have any objection to Islam or anything having to do with Islam, it's racist, and that this is going to be used to rewrite hate speech laws and things like that. And so you end up with tons of people being locked up just for saying that they don't like Islam or something about Islam.
I have a perspective, and I think that this is something that young Bob or somebody else could be in charge of and could actually, take on and pursue. Since you are in the UK, I would say to counter this, or to preemptively make sure that you can say certain things, somebody should start a campaign of preparing a sample speech that is to be read out in public, which simply states some basic facts about Islam, such as that Islam commands the death penalty for apostasy. Islam commands the death penalty for blasphemy. The Quran allows the beating of women. Muhammad married a 6-year-old girl and raped her when she was 9.
I was actually tempted to do that, and
actually, wait. You should.
I had I actually have the banners ordered. I'm going to go around certain places of the UK. It has banners with hadith and Quran references with the actions of Muhammad, and I literally just.
But here's the thing: what you should be doing there is not to comment on any of it, not to give your opinion on any of it, but simply state the facts as they are, exactly as they are, so that when you are asked about it, you can say that you were simply stating the facts without, criticizing it or giving your opinion on it. But I think a good thing that could be done is to spread this sample speech to people, to patriotic people around the nation, and to call everyone to go out there and say the very same thing, and see if they get in trouble for that or not.
you got a couple of options right here that all make sense. So young Bob, he's pointing out he wants to put stuff on banners. Just imagine a banner where you just quote Muhammad. If anyone leaves his Islamic religion, kill him. And then the source. I think it's Sahih Bukhari 6922. So it's quote from Muhammad, then the source, and then are you a racist? Am I a racist if I object to this? And just hold the banner there, because it kind of exposes how absolutely insane it is to say, like what race are you opposed to if you oppose people getting executed for leaving Islam? But you could do that with all kinds of issues, so that would be effective on like banners and so on. Also, as AP just pointed out, simply stating things without even criticizing or condemning them. Like, okay, so if I just state things that Islam teaches and I give the source, how are you going to attack me for it? I'm just stating what it is. As soon as AP started saying like a prepared speech or something like that, see, I'm of the view that, and by the way, it was the same in prison. I wondered this in prison. I wonder why people don't realize how much power they have if they unite, or at least a good portion of them unites. Like when I was in prison, the guards would be jerks and stuff like this. I never did anything about it, but it was always in my head. All the inmates need to do is sit down and say, we're not working. That's it. Like 95% of the work in a prison is done by the inmates. Inmates are preparing the food. Inmates are doing everything. If they said we're not working, guess what? They still have to feed you and do all this stuff. The government still has to do that. They're just going to have to pay a bunch of people to come in and do it. In other words, things get way more expensive for a prison if inmates just refuse to do all the work, right? Guards are just there guarding and so on. You have some other people, like you'll have someone like a teacher or something like that and so on. Anyway, if inmates just say we're all not working right now, they still have to do everything. They still have to provide everything. And so anyway, things will get way more expensive. So the point is, inmates could control a lot more than they do. There's never a situation where they would be on the same page like that. But in a place like the UK, see, I'm of the view, when we see these videos of someone being arrested or something like that for a Facebook post, all you have to do to fix that is 5 million people all post the same thing and say, you're going to lock us all up. And guess what? They're not. They're not going to do it. That would change things instantly. If you define Islamophobia in some way and say, this is what Islamophobia is. If 5 million people all post a video of themselves doing whatever it is they just said, there's nothing you could do about it. They're not going to lock up 5 million people. They're just not. So anyway, people have the power. What's that? Go ahead.
So Palestine Action is a prescribed terrorist organization in the UK. They do activism work, which includes breaking into military bases. Now, when they were prescribed, their activism included getting as many people to put placards up saying, I support Palestine Action, then gets as many people, up to thousands of people, arrested on the same day, and the police can't process them. So they're all released on NFA or on bail, So the whole point is that, yes, doing things in big numbers always works regardless of what it is, including being as disruptive as possible. And that's why, like, the reason why you have Charlie Hebdo's, you have teachers being in hiding, is because not everyone's doing it. If it was just you doing it, you have the consequence of everything on you. But if consequences shared equally across everyone, it's then less for each people.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Matter of fact, that happened. Years before the Charlie Hebdo. There was a woman, a cartoonist in America named Molly Norris. And she said, let's have an everyone draw Muhammad Day. And it was in response to a group called Revolution Muslim threatening the South Park guys because they were going to have Muhammad in an episode. So they threatened the South Park and said, hey, we're going to massacre people for South Park if they have a cartoon with Muhammad. The TV show backed down and covered up Muhammad, so you didn't actually see Muhammad. They censored everything. Molly Norris, in response, said, hey, let's just have an everybody draw Muhammad Day. And she posted a little picture of like a teacup saying, I am Muhammad. right? She got threatened with death. As far as I know, she's still in hiding to this day, all these years later. And then she took down her let's have everyone draw Muhammad Day. But guess what? People went ahead and went through with the Everyone Draw Muhammad Day, and tens of thousands of people all posted online pictures, cartoons of Muhammad, people drawing Muhammad. Guess what? No one got killed over it. No one, not a single person.
Yeah.
Why? You can't do it to thousands or tens of thousands or millions. It doesn't work. The death threats and so on, they work when there's a couple of people. It works when there's a couple of people. If everyone just stands up and says we're not doing this, you've won. You just won. You just wonder what it's going to take for the UK to.
Hence why my suggestion was made, which is that you should start preparing speeches and all that.
Yeah, and guess what? Multi-pronged approach. So some banners. Some banner designs should be designed where people can go get them printed up themselves at their local banner place or whatever. Things like that. Muslim sources, quotations from Muhammad, facts about Muhammad. For people who don't want to actually be violating the law, just state facts about Muhammad, like AP has pointed out. For people who want to say, you know what, you're not going to arrest all of us if we all do this. We should do that. We should all do that. We should all prepare. AP, I will prepare a script that is basically, you think you're going to lock us all up? And just send it out. Everyone post a video of yourself saying this. And you can have your version where they're not actually breaking the law. They're just presenting facts. And Young Bob, you can have your banner designs everywhere. And then we can say, screw you to your new Sharia blasphemy laws. And then see what the government does. But yeah, see, guys, government's supposed to be scared of you. You're not supposed to be scared of your government. If you're scared of your government, you need a different government. All right, couple last super chats, and then we'll be out. I lived in KSA, and people there talk all the time about taking over Europe by 2030. Keep strong, all three of you, and be as wise as serpents. Yep, that is good advice.
Is he going to take over Europe, or is the Muslims? I'm confused.
He.
He's going to take over Europe. Okay.
Bob, Peter, Paul, etc. were arrested for Christ's sake. We are praying for you and others. Our God is watching and will bless you and others persecuted.
Yeah, I mean, political persecution politics is another outlet of what you believe religiously. So if they have an issue with your politics, they can have an issue with your religion. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine with that. I mean, I don't think we should deify politicians, but
Indeed.
You've seen Chris of Speaker's Corner recent video with Greg Armstrong. He claims his rival version of Quran Dilemma named Master Key is superior to all other arguments. I saw that Chris had a video with the new Islamic Dilemma. I haven't checked it out yet. But interestingly, I have a debate on the Islamic Dilemma tomorrow with John Fontaine. You familiar with John Fontaine, Young Bob?
No, because I am.
Oh, he's one of the...
Isn't that a blondie guy?
Yeah, he's a ginger. He's a ginger Muslim.
Ginger. Okay.
He's a ginger. That's probably why Young Bob never talked to him. He's like, gingers.
You could have taken it so many different places there. Thank goodness you just stuck on the ginger part.
Islam is the easiest way to subjugate a population. It's a power play for the existing establishment. Like, you don't need Islam. Like, who's going to say, oh, we want to subjugate a population? Let's bring in Islam. Islam will subjugate the subjugators as well. All I ask is, please don't say aliens or demons. What? Oh, no, wouldn't cross my mind. I'm imagining Young Bob as the leader of Flaming Dragon from Tropic Thunder. You even know what that is, Young Bob?
Yeah, it's the whole film that's just a satire of Vietnam, right?
Yeah. But there was the group called Flaming Dragon, but they were led by a kid. They were led by a little Asian kid. We're a Flaming Dragon. That's funny.
So they imagine me as a little Asian boy. Is that
Parabellum. Good idea. That should be a John Wick movie title. Do you think that the UK government knows about Islam and the ugly truths within, like Momo's prostrate strengthening by the men of Al-Zut?
Maybe we should sign a petition to make it mandatory within UK education to make them learn about the Azut.
Yeah, that needs to be in one of our videos, our video scripts. Everyone needs to stand up and read a short 2-minute video about Muhammad and the men of Al-Zut. And we already saw in that video from Sky News that it can be done very quickly.
And be shut down as equally quickly.
Yep. And whether government knows, I'm sure there are some people in there who know exactly what it teaches and they're for it, especially some of the Muslims. And there are people who are in there and know what it's about and they're just too scared to fight it. And there are people who are clueless morons who don't know any better. And
politicians are also seedy, so they're probably engaging in a similar sort of activity. So
think about that for a second, man. So that whole show that we just saw, so the guy goes on a TV show and says some offensive things about Islam, some real things about Islam, and has some advice for Muslims. Nothing is being said in terms of inciting violence against Muslims. Nothing is being said that is dangerous in any way, and the host of the show, or the presenter, has to jump in and say, "We apologize. We were not supposed to air this. We apologize." Think about it for a second. Why in the world are they cutting it off? Why in the world are they apologizing? What was exactly said? What was exactly done that is so bad that grown adults actually have to be prevented from seeing or hearing that? What exactly happened on that episode that is so bad that you can't air it, that you have to apologize for airing it, that you have to take it down, that you have to interrupt it in an advanced, civilized Western society? What exactly is so bad? The same question can be asked to the UK. When people go outside and say Islam is a religion that that promotes pedophilia and sex slavery and wife beatings and all that, and people need to come and shut that down, why exactly do they need to shut it down? What exactly is the problem? What happens when people say these things? Nothing at all. It is just some incredibly stupid mindset that lots of people have, that Western people have, and unfortunately we like to talk about other people like the left having this mindset, but many of the people who are watching here also have that mindset. It is a very stupid mindset. It is a very polite mindset. This mindset of, we just have to spare those lesser people from being offended, and we should all just be very careful of how we speak about them. And if we say some mean things about them, we need to cut it off. We need to shut them up. We need to apologize. Can people just stop with this idiotic mindset? When did this become the norm? Was this the norm in Europe for 1,000 years? It wasn't. Was this the norm in Europe for the last 500 years? It wasn't. It became the norm very, very recently. And it really needs to stop as quickly as possible. It needs to stop as quickly as possible, because you are just making yourselves stupid on a very, very rapidly.
Yeah, I've said it many times, guys. Islam's biggest weakness is it can't stand up to criticism. Can't stand up to criticism, can't stand up to mockery. And so if you want to deal with Islam, yes, you have to deal with terrorists and you have to deal with that kind of thing, obviously. But long term, Islam cannot. That's why they always go for blasphemy laws. They have to keep you from being able to criticize their religion. They have to stop you. Why? They know it can't stand up to scrutiny. They know it's their biggest weakness. So if they've already basically told you for 14 centuries what their biggest weakness is, how is everyone who's worried about the spread of Islam and about the future of their countries not sitting down and saying, we're going to learn about Muhammad and the men of Al-Zut. We're going to learn about Muhammad and Aisha. We're going to learn what Muhammad did with the wife of his own adopted son. We're going to learn about all this stuff, and we're not going to shut up about it. Guess what? You get an entire population, or even a good percentage, even 5 or 10% of your population who are all sharing that. That is going to be a very, very, very unappetizing environment for Muslims, right? They're not going to be like, ooh, let me move there with all my kids where I'm going to hear nonstop, endless mockery of Muhammad. They're not going to want to do it. If they cannot control your speech, they do not want to be there. And so just keep that in mind. This is simpler than people realize. It's very easy. Get some balls, stand up, don't shut up, and it needs to be a bunch of you all crushing Muhammad. Not the
Buy
way
some balls.
Not the way Al-Zut did, but with information.
Yeah.
You could say zooting him with information. Right?
Don't do it like the Al-Zut or like Paul Williams.
Yeah.
Do it the right way.
Do it the correct way. Do it the correct way. All right. That's one more, and then we'll go ahead and share any closing thoughts. Did anyone hear that Vadi Buckham died? No. Vadi was working to battle woke inside the church. Say a prayer for him and his family. God with God, brother. Yes, we've had many comments about Vadi. All right, final thoughts on all this, AP?
I just said my final thoughts. What else do you want to hear?
All right. They heard AP's final thoughts. AP's final thoughts are, we just need to surrender and give up. It's hopeless.
Oh, everyone crying
My
on
final
the floor.
thoughts are, stop being so nice and get some balls. Buy some balls.
He's saying that in the mirror, by the way.
Yeah. Your niceness, ladies and gentlemen, your niceness, your good intentions of getting along with people have been weaponized by people who want to use your niceness and your good intentions to ultimately destroy you and your civilization. Once you realize that your niceness and your good intentions have been weaponized, that's when you stop being nice. That's when you stop worrying about being nice, because it's been weaponized and it's being used to destroy you. Don't give people a way to destroy you. That's just insane and stupid. Young Bob, final thoughts on everything.
Deport Muslims from the West. If you believe in 7th century Islam, you're not welcome here in the West. I don't regret anything I've said publicly. Essex police don't have the right to detain 17-year-olds when they can't properly detain rapists and individuals who break into schools. We need to reunite young people to Christian conservatism. Islam's not compatible with the West. Your standard foreign criminals should be arrested and detained and deported. The strong migration policy to save the church from Islam. And that's my biggest prescription in the most simplest way possible.
All right, let's end this with Rule Britannia.
What?
Rule Britannia.
Rule Britannia. You don't know what that is, David?
You don't run my stream.
Okay, fine.
Islam-loving leftists all the way to the... What's that say? What's that say, AP?
What? I can't see that.
We can't see that, man. Al-Zut does Mecca like Debbie does Dallas. That's true. Al-Zut did Muhammad like, boycott restaurants going halal. That's what old Bob thinks. All right, everyone.
Do it.
You heard it here. Things are looking pretty rough in the UK. Here's the thing. The UK can turn that around anytime they want. It's just there's not enough people who want to turn it around. So
we need our turning point.
Yep, you need your turning point, guys. You could fix this in a heartbeat. The longer you put off dealing with it, the worse it's going to be to deal with it. So there's never been a better time than right now. So fix the mess that your leaders have created and the mess that you guys have created by voting for these leaders. And do not let them take away your ability to criticize Islam. Don't let them do that. Not now, not ever. Catch y'all next time. Once again, support Young Bob. You've got the link to his X page and link to his website. Be sure to follow him. Be sure to donate to him. Catch y'all next time.